Good afternoon to one and all once again. I hope the first session was incredible. And from the again, we'll start with the second session, which is going to be more insightful to you, all of you. So this is the faculty development program on integrating yoga in higher education on the occasion of the International Day of Yoga 2022, organized by Meenakshi Academy of Higher Education and Research. Now I would like to request our chief guest of the speaker for today. Dr. R. Ramanathan, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Alagappa University, Karaikudi. Sir has developed 12 MOOCs module for SWAYAM and one MOOC module for IUCTE Mysore. With the funding from MHRD, SSA, RMSA, Sir has completed 12 projects and one project is ongoing, which is funded by RUSA. Sir has presented paper in the more than 100 national and international conferences and more than 50 workshops and symposium he has organized. He has published 56 national level peer-reviewed journals, 24 international level peer-reviewed journals, and proceedings with ISBN, and 9 Scopus Index international journals and proceedings with ISBN. Now, Sir has organized many national and international workshops and conferences. He has received many awards such as Best Campaigner Award received from the District Collector Dharmapuri for the Operation Enlightenment Scheme of Tamil Nadu. Kalai Amurasu Award given by Tamil Nadu Textbook Corporation. Many awards he has received. Today's topic chosen by the sir is modern teaching methods for this workshop. I welcome you, sir, on this platform. Sir, you are on mute. Yeah, now okay.
Sir, it is not audible, sir. No, sir, it is not audible.
Participants, please wait. There is some technical glitches. We'll come to that. Participants, please wait. Sir is having some technical glitches. We'll rejoin again. He will rejoin again. Just wait for a few seconds.
Is audible now, madam? Am I audible now, sir?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Am I audible now? Okay.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Oh, thank
you.
You
Can continue, sir. Thank you.
So the most respected authorities of Meenakshi deemed to be university for uh, the higher education and research, and Professor, the principal who have invited me for this particular session, and respected madam who has introduced me very beautifully, and above all, the revered participants of this online gathering. Indeed, it gives me an immense pleasure to be a resource person in this particular online gathering program. And the moment I received an information from the organizer, immediately, just simply, I was so puzzling that actually the program is going on yoga, and it is from especially field of physical education. But why that particular, they are calling faculty members from education background. But although it was a great puzzling in the early period, but once I actually gone through the invitation and the brochure program schedule, I was very happy that very beautifully arranged the program. And the title which they have selected for each session was wonderful in a logical manner. Actually, there was a coherence, the logical coherence flow in the title one by one, one after another. So my hearty congratulations to the organizers, and my humility and my sense of indebtedness to the authorities of the institution who they are organizing. And moreover, I'm very much passionate to interact with you all in this August online forum. I think the moment I joined in a meeting, launch meeting, I found that more than 115 people have joined in the program. It is a very good program, and I think it is an eclectic group. And the faculty members and researchers from the different background have joined, I think. So, in fact, while getting to the more thing about the organizer and all, actually, I'm very much happy to register my deep sense of indebtedness for all you people for joining in such a wonderful program. And I pray Almighty to complete this program in a grand, successful manner. So with this few introductory note, I think, shall we move on to the session? I think I need the consent of the organizers and any one of the participants. Shall we move on? Can anyone interact with me? Shall we move on to the session? Shall we? Shall we start up with the session? So thank you. The topic which has been assigned to me is the modern teaching methods. So I have classified this 1.5 hour session. Already, I think already we lost 9 minutes. I think hardly we have 1 hour 20 minutes. I know it is a quite difficult task to introduce you all that important teaching method at this juncture. But I hope that I can give you best. I can give you the important gist of each and every important teaching method. More than teaching, or more than teaching method of teaching, it is a matter to introduce method of teaching, because you are all educators, you are all teachers, you are all administrators, management personnel, and researchers. I know that you are pretty well, and you are good at capturing the informations which being delivered at this particular online platform. So I have classified this component into 5 segments, and the first segment is introduction, because anything that we need to go for some platform. That foundation is required. What foundation is nothing but the foundation is introduction about teaching and teaching method. And that I have a question, why that there is a teaching, there is a motto. So what is the motto of teaching? There are plenty number of definitions for teaching that we know, but what is the motto of teaching and education? As a teacher, you are standing in a classroom. You need some sort of group of people or some of the target group that they should be in front of you. So without learner, no teaching method or no teacher will succeed. So the point is to teach is to make someone to learn. So The first mode of teaching is to make someone to learn. Learn means, well, we are learning something new. Learning is knowing of a new language, knowing of new vocabulary, knowing of new technique, method, interpersonal relationship. Anything that you started knowing, that particular so-called process called teach. Okay, that is a learning. So to teach is to make someone to learn. And the second thing, each and every learning should be targeted on, should be pointed on the change as the end result. So change is the end result of all true learning, all true learning. For instance, you are taking this 5-day faculty development program. This 5-day faculty development program definitely would bring some sort of changes in your behavior, some sort of changes in your knowledge, some amount of changes in your interaction, in your relationship, and some sort of changes in the number of people whom you know. So you, the people, will definitely get changes morphologically, physiologically, psychologically, socially, emotionally. So any teaching is making someone to learn is first mode of teaching. And any teaching, if it intends to bring some changes, that is why the definition of education is called behavior modification, body modification of behavior. So before learning some new vocabulary, their behavior was something. And once they learned a new vocabulary, their behavior is something different. If they do know English, their behavior is something different in platform. If they do know the beautiful actions, if they are very good at English, and they can contribute a lot to the GD group discussion in all particular form, all form, whether face-to-faces or online form. So second important motto of teaching is change is the end result. What change? That physiological change, morphological change, psychological change, mental change, emotional change, social, any change. Now we will move to the different principles of teaching. Before I proceed to the different method of teaching, I have to give you an insight on knowing what is teaching first and what are all the important components, what are all the important elements that constitute a good teaching, important elements that constitute how a good teaching must be. So these are all the principles of teaching. Actually, due to want of time, I drift some of the principles, but now I have a small exercise to you. Can anyone respond me? What would be the best principle of the teaching which I have listed? So here I have listed 9 principles of teaching. As an educator from education background or physical education background or a person from yoga, can anyone point what would be the most important principle of teaching? Can anyone respond me? I think Madam Dr. Shyamala Vijay has raised a hand. I'm happy. Can anyone respond? Is that possible? Could you point which principle is more important or which is least important? Can anyone?
General to specific.
General
to specific.
So specific. Very good. And what point you are making this very important?
Sir?
Yes.
I'm Dr. Shyamala. The
best
thing is from known to unknown.
Oh, known to unknown. Wonderful, wonderful. Actually, very purposefully, I have jumbled the sentences. I have rearranged the principles. But it's a kind of small exercise. Madam is wonderful, known to unknown. Dr. Shyamala, another professor, has started from general to specific. Anything else? Madam, Dr. Shyamala, Shyamala.
Yes, tell me, sir.
Is that any difference? Is that makes any difference from known to unknown and using previous knowledge? Is both are both same or different?
Sir, both are different, sir.
Wonderful.
Both are different because using previous knowledge may not result from known to unknown.
Known to unknown. Good. Very good.
So,
okay,
education, I think it is the term.
Term.
Yeah.
That's fine. So anyone else?
Meaningfulness.
Meaningfulness. Very good, very good. So, Hartika, what is your madam? What's your name, madam?
Vidyashri, ma'am.
Professor Vidyashri, I am very much happy about all the 3% who have responded to me. But the most credit goes to Professor Vidyashri. Actually, although the important principles are jumbled, the most important thing is, actually, what is the definition of truth? You know, the truth is nothing but the searching or search the meaning of, or search the ultimate of, the search the finest of everything. So research, learning, teaching, knowledge, development, all that important term collectively, it intends to know something new first. And once you have started going for meaningfulness, only then there are ways and means for simple to complex, general to specific, known to unknown, and using previous knowledge, making ourselves ready. So unless ourselves, otherwise we are ready to know something, we will never get to know. So these are the different. But first thing is, a good person will never use any knowledge, any word, any vocabulary, any concept, any principle, any phenomena, any situation without knowing. So you have to know the meaningfulness of each and everything. For example, there is a great important concept in yoga called mindfulness. That mindfulness connects physical as well as mental, that body and mind connected by the wonderful philosophy called mindfulness. The mindfulness, meaningfulness, truthfulness, forgetfulness, whatever the word that suffix with fulness is always doing better in the world, always doing wonder in the world. So meaningfulness, one has to search the truth of every knowledge. One has to search the truth of the knowledge or principles or concept that stand behind the term, that stand behind the principle, that stand behind the concept. If you go for the law of energy conservation, the energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. But one form of energy can be transferred into another form of energy. If one has understood the meaningfulness of the law of energy, they will never waste any sort of energy in the world. You know, although that pranic healing, in the pranic healing, that aura, yeah, you are aura, you know, you are a yoga personality. You know about well about aura. So meaningfulness is the most essential principles of teaching. So due to want of time, just I'm drifting. If at all have any leisure time at in the due course or at the 5 days of time in the evening, please go through my PPT and just you make yourself a insight. So principles of teaching very mandatory. Next we'll move. If and I have another question. What is the most important? What is the least important? What is the most important, least important? There is no most important, there is no least important. But there is a phases. Meaningfulness important, then readiness. Readiness followed by known to unknown, then general to concept, concrete. And then you are going for a concrete to abstract. And then simple, like that it moves. These are the different stages of the principles of teaching. But you cannot simply ignore some principle, you cannot give much due recognition on some principle, not like that. All principles are important. Now, if a particular principle of teaching is missing, or if some principles of teachings are not entertained, what would happen? What will happen? What would be your inference out of this frame? What is your inference? Anyone? What is your inference? How are you predicting this particular frame? Can anyone? Professors? Can anyone respond me? I think professor organizers should give permission to unmute to some of the participants. I think that is the problem. Professor, organizers, am I right?
Yes, sir, we are giving.
Okay.
Moving the
Actually,
along, sir.
better they do unmute themselves, mute themselves, and if it is because the session is must be very much interactive rather than monopoly. Actually, if I'm permitted, I will be endlessly speaking, but it will never get any idea out of people. So okay, can anyone respond me?
Sir,
Whom
this
they were
lecture
unmuted?
you mentioned about defective
Moving it right.
teaching learning practice.
Defective teaching learning process. Okay, I'm asking.
So what, Sir, because the effective teaching must end up with good results, and it must it must transform the potential in the good manner.
Good
And
manner.
it should give some productive this thing to the society. But
Thank
this
you, madam.
effective
Actually,
teaching
here,
process, it may spoil the student, and it may not contribute much to the society.
thank you, thank you. Actually, one point I wanted to make it registered here. If you are missing some principles of teaching, and if you are not concentrating, or if you are not entertaining some principles of teaching which I have mentioned in the early slide, definitely it would be a defective teaching learning process. The defective teaching learning process will be a so much burden, or will be a definite contradictory result over the mind of learners. So at last, the learning will not happen. Instead, the repercussions will be very pathetic. Repercussion will be pathetic. I'm very sorry, professors. If some students doing mistake, if some students doing blunder, if some students really not in a position to understand what we teach, the defect is not in the part of students. The defect is in the part of method of teaching. Defect is in the part of material. Defect is in the part of curriculum. Defect is in the part of amount of learning, teaching, content, curriculum, teacher, methodology, his excellency, knowledge, like that. So, if at all any problem in teaching learning process, 90% teachers are the responsible rather than the students. Now, what is the need of the hour? So, the real need of the hour, you can see my cursor moving. It is incumbent upon educators today to begin preparing for changing education paradigm of tomorrow. So there is a quote in English. Actually, most of the people are telling that technology will replace teacher, technology will replace teacher. Never. Technology will never replace teachers. But I strongly believe that the teacher who knows technology will definitely replace the teacher who do not know technology. Are you with me or not? Could you agree with my point or not? So technology may not replace teachers. Whether it is a yoga or science and technology, engineering background, arts, science, everything. Teacher will never be replaced. But the thing is that teacher who know technology will definitely replace teacher who do not know technology. So what is the important thing? Teachers should not simply escape that I am a teacher of the digital immigrant. I cannot teach digital natives. So teacher has to know, teacher has to travel from digital immigrants to the digital native. She or he has to be in a position to meet the different crowd of 21st century learners. They are the learners of generation Y. They are the learners of generation X. So that is the important thing. So for which we needed to work together. So before proceed to the modern method of teaching, in classical method or traditional method of teaching, teacher is the sage on the stage. I hope that you are following appropriately. In the traditional method of teaching, teacher is the sage on the stage because he is a sole and solitary. If it is a 1 hour program, all that 1 hour, the teacher will endlessly speak. The students have to listen. The students have to sit idle. But what will happen in the modern method of teaching? Instead of one teacher, there will be plenty number of teachers at that time. For example, although it is 100 plus participants have joined, I never assume that myself is a teacher on the all 1.5 hours because you are all faculty members, you are all research. Once upon a time, teacher was one of the sources of knowledge. Sorry, teacher was the only source of knowledge. But now, teacher has become one of the sources of knowledge. Do you agree with my point or not? Teacher has become one of the sources of knowledge. Rather, Google can give you best. Google can serve you best than that of a teacher gives. But the way that you are getting, the knowledge that you are simplifying, the knowledge that you are facilitating will definitely be different from Google. So the concept is working together is the important ideology for modern method of teaching, by which we can achieve our goal, expect our qualities in higher education. So now we let move What is the difference between traditional and smart classroom? Not method of teaching, classroom. In traditional classroom, we have to sit physically. Teacher and student should know each other and they should interact each other in person. And regarding size, it is a limited size, maybe 30, maximum 40, at most 50. So called synchronous learning because everything going on is synchronization on the mode, on the whole. But when you come to smart classroom or that modern classrooms, the number of students are endless because even I am sitting in Karaikudi and you are sitting in the length and breadth of the country, even abroad. We are all connected with each other by the social platform and the communication platform called Zoom. Zoom has become a wonderful platform to connect lakhs and lakhs of students. Lakhs and lakhs of students can be connected at a time. So when you come to the contact, small PowerPoint, some transparency technique, textbook, library, video, at most that's all. So most of the people are thinking that video is modern tech. Never. Video is the very old technique of a classroom. But now multimedia. Another thing is called a simulation. Simulation means actually once upon a time static web. The web 1.0 is a stable web and web 2.0 is actually static web, that is interactive web. Web 3.0 is a semantic web. That is why you are able to give your voice over typing, voice over search by Google. What is called a semantic web, web 3.0. And now we are sitting in web 4.5.0, 5.0. What is that? That RSS read simple syndication is one of the technique that made us be connected multimedia, simulated. If you are doing some sensor, actually laptop works. So laptop actually is working without touching. So that touchless work laptop, interactive work, and interactive actually on touchscreen laptop. There are plenty number of technology have been evolved. What is called smart classroom. What is called that asynchronous. Teacher may be somewhere, student may be somewhere. So they are not synchronizing each other physically. So that is the thing. But here personalization, one learning path. But here learning path are different. Sometimes video, sometimes audio, sometimes face-to-face, sometimes instruction, question and answer, queries, lecture method. So any number of methods that is possible can be adopted. So this is the difference between traditional versus smart class. So now teacher has some obligations. We need some obligations from teachers that what they need to enter into a modern method of teaching. So still that I am in introduction part of method of teaching. Now you see what are the important obligations from the part of teacher or to the teacher. First, use all available technology. There is a concept called BYOD and BYOT. Actually, most of the faculty members have joined, you know well, pretty well. In foreign, there is a concept called BYOT. BYOT, that's bring your own drinks, BYOT. Actually, in the weekend, each and every people will assemble, will gather at a beach station or park or any recreation place. What is the thing is the drinks, they have to bring their own. And snacks, everything they have to bring their own. They will use their own drinks, but they will make themselves together. Millions of people, thousands of people, hundreds of people will united together at a particular place. They will share their thoughts, feelings. They will actually make relaxation. So bring your own drink is the wonderful philosophy of the Western countries. But later on, it was switched over to the concept of bring your own device in the terms of technology. See, for example, if I'm giving you a computer or laptop and if I'm asking you to make operated, actually by knowing how to operate this particular device itself will consume half an hour. So by the time we will lose half an hour, 1 hour, you will be probably you may not get mastery over. So we are all connected by your own device. Then now you are bringing your own device, out of which we are bringing your own technology. So BYOD versus BYOT, bring your own technology. by bringing your own device. So your technology, your device have connected each other. That is called use all available technology. My humble request to all the higher education teachers, if it is a smart board, if it is an interactive board, if there is some multimedia packages, if there is some open sources, if there is open educational resources, if there is some open educational practices, Moodle, MOOC, you please do make use of it, make use of it, make use of it. You bring all those things, I introduce all those things to your students. Unless otherwise, just you are scanning yourself, you are immersing yourself in the, because immersive learning environment is one of the teaching method. Immersive learning environment. Seamless learning technology is one of the modern method of teaching. What is immerse? You have to immerse yourself in the web. Once you are immersing yourself in the web, your learning will be seamless. Your learning will be flawless. So use all available technology that is open in web and encourage collaborative learning. See, the maximum difference between traditional method and modern method of teaching. And as I told you, teacher is a sage on the stage only. Teacher is the only thing. When he thought, what he want, what does he know, alone will be taught. The moment teacher elated, what is the learning time? The moment what teacher thinks to teach, that is the content. When the teacher will fix the learning, that is the classroom hour. So everything will be dependent upon the teacher. But now, the important thing is collaborative learning is the ideal and the most important ideology of the modern method of teaching. And another thing, lay foundation for lifelong learning. Once upon a time, learning was prohibited by certain age. But now, learning is actually age. Learning is considered to be beyond the age. Learning is considered to be beyond the geriatrics. Even nowadays, most of the geriatric people, old age people are doing degrees after degree. Obligations, what we need, what obligation we need from teacher. Teacher has to use available technologies first, and she or he has to encourage students for collaborative learning. And the third thing is encourage lifelong learning. And the fourth thing, incorporate old and new. Don't incorporate new always. Please mind yourself. Anything that comes new is not exclusive. It's not exclusive, not exclusive. Whether it's a fashion technology, whether it is a food, management philosophy, psychology, sociology, science, technology, clothing, engineering, everything. Once upon a time, there was a great architecture in India, but nowadays there is a separate branch of study deals with architect. So the thing is that actually the modern is always combination of, always an eclectic of tradition with novelty. There is no such things exclusively modern, If you are claiming that something is exclusive modern, definitely it will never have some applicable skills. It will never have dexterity. It will never have that longevity of its application. So always incorporate the combination of old and new, what's called modern. So modern is not only new. Modern is always an eclectic of, is a combination of modern and new. Now, we will move. What is the expectation of the teacher? Now you see, present teacher is under some simple and puzzling situation because he or she doesn't know to compare and just to swim with many informations, many resources. But what teacher is expected? The teacher should do research. The teacher should do observe things, what is going around. At the same time, what is going in the world. So both important skills are expected in the teachers. So this is what the introduction part of teaching. Now we will move to the visual thesaurus. So now we will definitely move into the modern teaching techniques. So far, just I have given you only the introduction part of my session. But now we are going for modern method of teaching or innovative method of teaching. Since actually you have used the word modern, just simply accepted. But innovative practices in teaching, innovative method in teaching, something beyond than modern method of teaching. Modern denotes only the chronology, only the chronology. What is the chronology? Modern denotes only period. If something novel If something innovative, if something best in the modern age, what is called innovation. So innovation is not away from modern, but innovation is something beyond modern, something above than modern. So when you go to innovation, you see invention is innovation, excognition. So far, your cognition, your knowledge is something different. If your cognition is something elated, something enthralled, that is excognition. And a design, then conception, innovate, this is innovation. How it is being created? See, first creation, foundation, founding, initiation, instauration, institution, introduction, and origination. So these are all the important terminology that together make importance, that together make the philosophy of innovation. Now we are moving slightly into not different method of different modern method of teaching. First, we will getting to know that what is innovation in teaching. First, so far I have prepared you to get an insight first what is teaching, what is principle of teaching, and what is to be given more importance, what is not to be given more importance, and if it is given more importance, what will happen, everything. And now we will move to modern in teaching. What is a modernity in teaching? See, what is the modern or innovation? Now, can anyone respond me? What do you think about the word innovation? Because I have given you visual thesaurus I have given. Thesaurus means that's the actually the
Sir, excuse
lexicon.
me, we want to see the thesaurus slide once.
Yes.
Please, sir.
Yes, please.
So what is that instauration? I didn't get you.
Where is that, madam?
Instauration.
Instauration means actually that installing. It is a thing related to initialization of all the things coming in a contemplative part. Active, contemplative. So when a person moving to contemplative to active part, what is called instauration. That is simply called a installation, installation. You have started installing. You have started activating something. That is instauration. That's all. So these are all the visual thesaurus I culled out from the web. So these are all process together makes innovation. I'm asking, actually, instauration is not only the process of giving innovation. Actually, anything that combination of or individually, it brings out innovation in any phenomena, not only in teaching. Is that okay, Professor?
Sir,
Hello.
I'm not a professor, sir.
Okay, no problem.
I'm a student, sir.
Very good. Actually, I'm very happy that if at all any doubt at the particular the moment itself, you can raise your hand, you can interact with me. So instauration is almost related to
excuse me.
Yes.
She is more than a professor, sir.
Okay, that's fine. That is fine. So thank you, madam. So the thing is that innovation is most of the time just we used to think that innovation is something new, novel. Never. In what way it is novel? Whether it is a novel by initiation, or it is novel by creation, or it is novel by installation, it is novel by active process, it is novel by contemplative process. That is called the innovation. So innovation means actually as an educator researcher, you should not live as a such, oh, innovation means something new. No, don't compromise yourself as very important, because actually it is not mandatory to bring out thesaurus. But why do I just entertain thesaurus to go for modern method of teaching? First, you need to know the meaning of the word first. Unless otherwise, to completely know the thesaurus of a particular word, please don't get into the PhD work. Don't get into the writing of article. First, your definition must be operationalized. If you are framing a title, the title is to be framed after frame. You have to refine the title, and you have to cull out the important terminology. You have to make out the thesaurus, and you should compromise. So you should get complete satisfaction yourself. Only then it will make you to travel throughout the research process. So that is a thesaurus. Now we will move modernity in teaching. What is a modern or innovation that you know? Now we will straight away move to the frame. Now I want to know, please you look at the frame and you please make some inference out of it. Why innovate? Actually, I have given a frame. Why innovate only? Something new. A new method or device, whatever. What is the difference between the left and right? What is the difference between left and right? Where does the innovative comes? Where does the modern practices comes?
Modern
The
practices comes in
right
the right
side.
side, sir.
Right side.
Left
How
side
does
only the olden practices. So it is
wonderful,
very
madam. How do
difficult to
you
come up fast. But the
fast?
right picture shows that because of innovation, you can come to
See,
the
one
topmost
side,
level fast, and also you can
the
solve problems easily.
one side it is there are some different accelerating devices. One thing is actually simple machines that scientific technology they are doing, and without much physical effort, that particular person is thrown out. And another one, some air pressure is there. Another one side that hydraulic mechanism is there. Another side area that is a parachute. So these are all innovative processes. But here only physical attempt is being made, but cognitive attempt have never been made. Right, madam?
yes,
The
sir.
cognition does
Yes,
not
sir. Yes,
entertain,
sir.
but here physical as well as cognitive is an entertain. See, while you are doing your activity, while doing your action, if anything that new you are just entertaining. See, I wanted to register a small event which happened in my life. When I was a ninth standard boy in one of the rural villages of Tamil Nadu, actually there was a poem called that Tamil child called, that is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Tarmi, one of the poets in Thiruvilayadar, that was the play. Actually, my teacher, Tamil teacher, she was promoted from PET teacher to Tamil teacher, Tamil graduate teacher. And in the month of Margale, actually, in villages, Perumal temple used to play some songs, everything early morning and late evening. Actually, very purposefully, she skipped the particular poem, particular chayul, and she did not teach us. And she asked, "Yo, Margali Masonda, actually, they will play radio, that microphone. So you all to have, you all have to listen it. And just we will teach this particular stanza once we come after the half-yearly vacation." She instructed us, and just we followed it, and we also listened to it. After coming to the classroom, actually, very first day, she started touching. Konguder Valkai Anjarai Tumbi Kavam Seppa, the Kanda the Moliyumo, like that, she started. What is the meaning in there? Is there a fragrance? The fragrance of women hair is natural or artificial? That was the gist, that was the meaning of the poem, conversation. That conversation taking place between Lord Shiva and Tarami, one of the poets of Thiruvilayadar. See, still all that the 34 or 35 plus people have never forget that particular stanza. What happened is, my Tamil teacher only, she purchased that particular 30 rupees video cassette, VCR, what is that? VCD, no, VD cassette recorder. Yeah, audio cassette recorder. She purchased some. She spent only 30 rupees. That 30 rupees cassette made a lot of changes in us. That's all. So innovation, technology, modern is nothing extra. If you are making a small step addition in your classroom, what does it means? That innovative practices, best practices. Actually, my Tamil teacher only made arrangement for the 30 rupees cassette. That cassette was played. All the people actually 100% understanding we got. That total chayul and the conversation happened between Lord Shiva and Tarumi, and what is the inference and how the Tarumi was punished, how Lord Shiva punished King Tarumi, everything and rational. So some ideology, objectives, content, knowledge, informations, values, everything still I'm memorizing. I didn't forget. The thing is that what is the innovation? The 30 rupees cassette is the innovation. So now I make a great appeal to all the faculty member. So please do make some sort of innovation in your classroom. So innovation in the classroom is equal to a vehicle for the process. So what is the vehicle? An innovation in the classroom. When I was an MSc graduation in Madras University, I was an MSc student. My professor was teaching me the plasma membrane model, impregnated protein, expregnated protein, like that. We were all in a puzzling. And immediately, my professor actually could sensitize our eyes that we were not in a position to understand. Our Alagasanar actually, the people from other state, please could excuse me. I wanted to express myself in Tamil. Hey, plasma membrane model Halwa kendra mari da plasma membrane model. What is the plasma membrane model? While making halwa, actually you are adding some ingredients like that cashew, badam, pista, and kismi. These are all the important ingredients that we are adding. இப்போ இந்த பாதாம் முந்திரி பிஸ்தா திராட்சை இதெல்லாம் போட்டு ஒண்ணா கிண்டினதுக்கு அப்புறம் கிண்டி நீங்க அப்படியே வார்த்து நீங்க கட் பண்ணாங்கன்னா some of the ingredients are appearing at the dorsal place, some of the ingredients appearing at the ventral place, and some of the ingredients are never appeared. It is embedded inside the halwa. So the total halwa layer is a lipid layer. The surface proteins are called expregnated protein. The halwa pulla pona ingredients now the impregnated proteins. The Sanger and Nicholson 1975 model is over. So the thing is that while registering that modern method of teaching, please don't exaggerate yourself. Oh, ought to we spend more money? Ought to we spend much time? Ought to we spend more economy? So this is never. It is in the hand of, it is in the mind of teachers, the presence of mind, a good explanations, the so-called examples, the story, real life situations, some happenings, some artificial gamings. So that will make your classroom so lively. See, if I'm given 3-hour session, only then I could take my session properly. But initially, the moment I was approached, I was given only 1.5 hours, so that just I'm taking the session as that. So innovation is the vehicle for a progress. So how can I get my students to be innovative in classroom? Please do make some actually do arrange or do think or do arrange some extra activity in your classroom. What is called innovation in your classroom. Now we are moving just. Now you have to think what would be any method. What is any method? So due to want of time, I'm just I don't entertain any kind of interaction at this slide. I will interact later. So directly straight away I'll move. Now we have 4 issues. Before I proceed to modern teaching methods in 21st century classroom, there is a lot of issue. But out of the different issues, all that issues have brought into 4 dimensions, 4 paradigms. The first one is organizational issue, and the second one is evaluation and dissemination, a teaching issue. Apart from those issues, what the important issue just we have to address is pedagogy. What is pedagogy? Have anyone heard about the word pedagogy? Pedagogical or pedagogy? Pedagogy? Have anyone heard about the word pedagogy?
Psychology, sir.
Madam, what is? Pedagogy means what?
That is art of competing.
Art of?
Ma'am,
Competing.
sir, pedagogy, it's a kind of teaching, sir.
Kind of teaching. Okay. Anyone else? Actually, pedagogy is the art and science of teaching, studying of teaching. Pedagogy is not teaching. Pedagogy is the study of teaching.
Pedagogy is a method of teaching yoga, sir.
No, yoga. Yoga is your subject, but pedagogy is science of or art of teaching learning process. I will tell you pedagogy, andagogy, everything. So pedagogical issues, and another one is technological issues. Nowadays, apart from organizational issues and evaluation issues and the teaching dissemination issue, the pedagogical and technological issues are very difficult issue. But I wanted to tell you an example. You are all watching advertisement, advertisement, TV advertisement, for instance. Nowadays, there is a concept called digital natives and digital immigrants. Already I have introduced the word. Digital natives are the one who get birth after 1990, exactly. The person who born after 1990 called digital natives, especially the person who born after 2000 called generation Y learners. The generation Y learners are always multitasking. But the generation X learners who born before 2000, or especially who born before 90, are called generation X learners, are also called the digital immigrant, because they born at the place where the digital boom was not there, and slowly they are migrating to digitals. But the people who born after 2000, they born at a digital world. So they are digital natives, exemplary, or psychologically, or obviously, digital aspects, they are very good at digital aspects than you. So today teachers are facing 4 important document criteria problem, domain problem. But the 2 most important is pedagogical and technological problem. What is pedagogy? As professors told, pedagogy is teaching learning process. How to teach, how to learn. That is pedagogy. The studying of teaching learning process called pedagogy. And nowadays we are living in a technological era. So we cannot teach students by paper pencil. We cannot teach students by chalk and talk. So we need to teach people through handheld device, technological device. So the thing is that pedagogical and technological important, 2 important issues. So some types of innovation. So 2 issues we have to move around. Now I am taking you what is innovation, and next we are moving to 2 issues. So these pedagogical and technological issues, and the particular innovation is to be taken up. So there are 3 innovation. If anything that is changed in your routine behavior called innovation, you know. The first innovation, nature of our role. So kindly, please do not wear a mask as you are a teacher, you are a teacher, you are a teacher, always, never. In 21st century classroom, please actually keep away your personality, keep away as that you are a hero of the classroom. Everything to be taken up. That is to be culled out. That is to be simply thrown out of the classroom. Please don't think yourself as the hero of the classroom, yourself as the soul and solitaire of the classroom. You are the sources of learning. No. Please, you do think that your role is to facilitate, not teach. Teach பண்ணது என்னோட நோக்கம் இல்ல. நான் தான் எல்லாமே சொல்லி கொடுப்பேன். எல்லாமே என் மூலமா தான் போகுது. I only teach everything to them. Never. So first change in technology is the role of teacher. And the second innovation is form of our teaching. Please don't teach 45 minutes. If it is a 45 minutes or 1 hour program, please don't teach 1 hour. You teach for 30 minutes, you teach for 35 minutes. You give 5 minutes for interaction, you give 5 minutes for getting connection with the previous knowledge, you give 5 minutes for interaction and question and answer and summarizing, so and allow them to express their feelings. So these are all very important methods. So teacher has to make changes in her or his role. And second thing, the form of our teaching is to be changed. Why? Lecture method is to be eradicated. Demonstration method is to be eradicated. Modern method of teaching is to be just adopted. The third thing, function of our teaching. Some teaching function is active learning, some teacher interactive. So, see, even computer-based teaching was traditional teaching, but computer-supported collaborative teaching, CSCL means computer-supported collaborative learning, is a modern method of teaching. So, in 3 ways, you can make innovation in the classroom: by changing your role, by changing your teaching, the type of your teaching, by changing the function of your teaching. So, this is the 3 types of innovation that can make in classroom. So for which what we need to do is, first we have to integrate or incorporate technological principles in our classroom. So if you are not in a position to entertain technology revolution, then who else will come and integrate? So you, the teacher, should integrate what is called the modern method of teaching. So that I am never claiming that if some teaching method infused with the technology doesn't mean that the modernity. Innovation must be there. The innovation must be facilitated with the technological devices. That is all. Now we will move to science of teaching learning. So first we will move forward. Now there are 3 goji, you know. Can anyone just read after me? Pedagogy, andragogy, heutagogy. So what inference you can make out of it? See, now I am telling pedagogy is not applicable for higher education teacher, higher education learners. So pedagogy, andragogy, heutagogy, all that together deal with teaching learning process. But pedagogy represents teaching learning process of school subjects, school student. while teaching Tamil, English, physics, Tamil, English, maths, science, social science. So pedagogy is science of teaching learning to the school students, school subject. When the teaching learning process deals with the adult, the people who reaches more than 17, at most 19, from the age of 20 onwards, that is in higher education, especially masters, the pedagogy is substituted by andragogy. Andro means man, human. Andragogy. So pedagogy is a school subject, that is a teaching learning, that is child only. But when the teaching learning process, teaching to the man, human, adult, what is called andragogy. Andragogy, heutagogy. See, even now I am delivering a lecture to you. Now 100 plus people have been connected each other. Suppose if I think that all 100 plus teachers will get an idea, will get an insight that what I am delivering. Actually, there will be a never fool like me. Suppose if I believe like that. When you 108 plus people, நான் சொல்றதெல்லாம் கரெக்ட்டா கேட்டுப்பீங்க. நான் சொல்றது அப்படியே உங்க மைண்ட்ல சேர்ந்து வந்துரும் நினைச்சா என்னை போன்ற முட்டாள் இந்த உலகத்தில் இல்ல. What point I wanted to make it? See, you are listening to music, you are listening to news, you are reading news, you are reading papers, you are reading some social issues. All social issues make changes in human. Some social issue alone make only one Malala. Some social issues alone make one Gandhian, one Talyani. See, everyone never perceive things as common. The teacher teaches how the people introduce, how the people take, that is andragogy. One teacher எவ்வளவுதான் teach பண்ணாலும் பையன் கடைசில அவனுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி தான் எடுத்துப்பான். What is called, that's codifying learning, symbolized learning, signal learning, stimulus and response learning. நம்ம என்னதான் teach பண்ணாலும் ஃபைனலா there are two concepts, assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation means the new knowledge enter into old knowledge without any change of framework, mental framework. For example, study of meaning of new words, new poems. So for example, புது வார்த்தைகள், recitation, memory level, that is assimilation. Because new knowledge and old knowledge are simply retaining in our brain. While entering into the new knowledge, if existing knowledge get modified, it is called accommodation. Oh, so far I thought that actually the teaching is responsible of a teacher. Never. Now teaching learning process is responsible of environment, organizational climate, students, material, curriculum, that day climate, mood of the people, support of the administration, management, and liveliness of the teacher, at last cooperation of the students. Oh, you compounds in the 1 hour teaching influence panna mudiyuma. The 1 hour teaching, the 1 session teaching is totally influenced by this particular pole of sources or particular group of people. So andragogy is for adult. எப்படி அவன் ஃபைனல் திங்க் பண்ண அந்த மாதிரி தான் எடுத்துப்பான். So heutagogy is self-determined, that is self-directed. So that is why adult learners will know that how to direct themselves. So this is cognition. So cognition means knowing. Metacognition, knowing of knowing. That is epistemic cognition, means actually it is knowing out of our limit, knowing out beyond our limit. So that is understanding, that is a negotiating knowledge and creating knowledge. So heutagogy makes people creating knowledge. Now you are in a position not dealing with pedagogy, you are in a position of dealing with andragogy and heutagogy. So now pedagogy is very, very, very old concept. Even if so, that is the concept for school education. But what concept we have to entertain process? Andragogy and what? Andragogy and heutagogy. So andragogy means self-directed. While you introducing some concept, it will direct students by own. But heutagogy means, see, you suppose if you are teaching Paradise Lost, after getting insight over Paradise Lost, actually the student has to write the pros and cons of writing and a critical note on the author. And suppose if you are doing yoga, after yoga, what changes I have sensitized? What are the changes that happen in me? What are all the impact of those changes? That is all heutagogy. So andragogy, heutagogy are the base for today's learner. So pedagogy to andragogy, andragogy to heutagogy. Andragogy also important, but the heutagogy is the most important to higher education teaching learning process. So that is called trigogy. Trigogy.
Can I put like this? Pedagogy goes for school, andragogy goes for UG and PG, heutagogy goes for PhD, right?
No. Andragogy, heutagogy, PG itself heutagogy.
Sake of easy understanding, I'm saying.
Yes, that is okay, madam. But PG itself should put under heutagogy only, not andragogy. PG, because they are not masters, no, they are more than 20. So they are doing project, professor, they are doing project. So the PG also should put under heutagogy. Got it?
Oh, okay.
But certainly, as you are classifying, undergraduate people will fall under andragogy because they are understanding only the metacognition engagement only.
Yes.
Then they need not cultivate language, they need not cultivate new knowledge. But whereas PG people, they should do project, they should do writing, they should do lot of exercises. So PG also should be fall under heutagogy. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. This is original heutagogy. This is original self-determined learning. So Madam has made a classification, It is a new insight she has given me. So that is a beautiful, and this is a way that she has very keen attention. I hope. This is trigogy. The trigogy slowly followed into tetragogy. Tetra means what? What is tetra?
Tetra means four.
Tri means 3. Tetra means 4. So trigogy is andragogy, pedagogy, andragogy, heutagogy. That when this trigogy is combined with the technology, what is called, that is techno-heutagogy. That is tetragogy or edugogy. So edugogy means trend. That is the trend now. The heutagogy and andragogy is coupled with, is cemented with the technological aspects called techno-heutagogy. So that is the self-determined e-learning or self-directed e-learning. Not self-determined learning, that's self-determined e-learning. There are plenty number of platforms, learning management system, Google Classroom, Zoom Lab, WordPress, Varso, Perso, lot of learning management system. Pretty well the past 2 years, most of the schools, they taught children out of Google Meet or Google Zoom with a Google Classroom learning platform. So that learning platform made people to determine their learning, what is called a techno-heutagogy. So nowadays, the heutagogy and andragogy cannot be taught, cannot be processed without technology, what is called the techno-heutagogy, what is called technogogy, that is tetragogy also. Now we are in the verse of pentagogy. Now you see, prior to 1990 pedagogy, until 2010 andragogy. Now where are we? Where are we at now? We are at 22. So after 2000, now synergogy, cybergogy, heutagogy. Cybergogy means what? What is a cyber? What does the word cyber stands for?
Cyber stands for internet.
Very good. Not computer, internet. Very good, madam. Thank you. Cyber, together called it. Cyber does not represent only computer or only laptop. It represents the laptop with internet connectivity, the laptop with the internet platform. So pedagogy to andragogy, andragogy to synergogy and cybergogy. The synergogy, cybergogy together make ourselves because heutagogy. Because heutagogy is almost here, why the cybergogy, synergogy together, what is called the technogogy, just we are making use as the weapon, as the tool for today's learning. So now, my dear faculty members, my revered faculty members, you cannot think of, you cannot execute a heutagogical process without combination of technological gadgets or technological principles, so that the pedagogy, so exclusively, the pedagogy till 1990, that is Web 1.0, face-to-face, and there is an Industrial Revolution 2.0, that is also up to 2000. Then synergogy, cybergogy is Industrial Revolution 3.0, that is called Web 1.0, Web 2.0, Web 3.0. Once upon a time, you cannot do anything in web. By 2.0, you can make some interaction in web. Now you can create web, you can host web, most of the web you can control, you can design your own website, and you can contribute to yourself. So that is Web 3.0, and Industrial Revolution Web 4.0, that is a very open system. Very open, you can use anything in the world, include hacking. So that is pentagogy. Now, Finally, we will move to paragogy. Although there are plenty of pedagogy, genealogy, many is there, but I cut shorter because suppose if I introduce many, you will get confused. Pedagogy, andragogy, heutagogy. In the meanwhile, synergogy, cybergogy together forms technogogy. So that is, so important thing is paragogy means pedagogy, andragogy, heutagogy with side-by-side learning. Now I am telling how it's a side-by-side learning. Many processes are here. If you look at our children very first, if you look at children, especially if a guy is who is doing undergraduation or post-graduation, laptop work they will be doing with multi-tab. One tab they are downloading something. In another tab they are downloading one film. Another side they are downloading one song. Another side they are doing some chat. Another side they are giving some response to the mail. Another side they are doing some cricket scores. Another side they will be typing assignments. See, while typing assignments, they are watching cricket score. They are get to know about it, they are speaking phone, and they are able to give response to the chat. At the same time, they are coming connected to the video call. See how much number of activity they are doing connected at a time. Paragogy is the great moment. Now, again, I am telling you, the advertisement you might have seen, out of the advertisement which I have seen, the wonderful advertisement that win my confidence, that win my heart is professional career advertisement. The professional career advertisement, if you have seen, actually, I trigger you to remember it. Actually, there was a circus man who was working on the iron wire. Balancing and the circus man walking on an iron wire with a great stick. Actually, in opposite side, and another person also coming around, just staying in front of him and delivered a box. So the caption was ended with wherever you are, we reach you there. அப்ப சர்க்கஸ் கம்பி மேல ஒருத்தர் நடந்து போகும்போது பாதியில் ஆப்போசிட்ல பாக்ஸ் வச்சுக்கிற ஒருத்தர் நிற்பாரு. நின்றவனே பாக்ஸை கொடுக்கும் போது அப்படியே கேப்ஷன்ஸ் அழகா போடுவாங்க. wherever you are, we reach you there. It is a wonderful advertisement. But how advertisements are coming, you know very well. Actually, அதுக்கு அந்த part நான் வரல. See, nowadays, you know, even 2018, also behavioral economics, Thomer have done a research on behavioral economics, for which he was laureated a Nobel for 2018, Nobel laureated to Thomer for behavioral economics work. See, as a customer, what is to be purchased, what is not to be purchased, what is to be purchased high, how much purchased, what is to be included in your monthly budget, how much it is to be included in your monthly budget, everything determined by advertisement. Everything determined by corporate, not by you. நீங்க எதை வாங்கணும் வாங்கக்கூடாது, எவ்வளவு வாங்கணும், எப்போ வாங்கணும், எவ்வளவு நேரத்துக்கு வாங்கணும், எவ்வளவு நேரத்துக்கு வச்சுக்கணும், everything determined by corporate. Everything your behavior is totally determined by advertisement. You see, all the advertisements are very colorful. All the advertisements are targeting women, that homemaker of the home, or second thing, child of the home. Actually, please don't mistake a women process and a child. I am talking psychological aspect. Every advertisement, they are targeting women and a child together because they are the power-centered people in every family. What they think is the final. So side-by-side learning, I'm directly coming to the context. How they are targeting, how they win the confidence of homemaker and child. By 10 seconds, by 15 seconds. In technology, 1 minute, maximum 4 minutes is the greatest time, my dear faculty members. Nowadays, teaching student is not an easy task. Capturing their mind and making them attentive for half an hour, 1 hour is very difficult task to the teacher. Because example is advertisement. Within 10 seconds of advertisement, within 20 seconds of advertisement, they started winning your confidence. அதாவது அவன் ப்ராடக்ட் இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்ணி, அவன் ப்ராடக்ட் பேர் உங்க மனசுக்குள்ள பதிய வச்சு, அந்த ப்ராடக்ட்ல வர எமோஷன்ஸ், கேப்ஷன்ஸ், பாட்டெல்லாம் பாட வச்சு, அதுக்கப்புறம் அந்த ப்ராடக்ட் என்ன இம்பாக்ட் உங்க வீட்டுக்குள்ள பண்ணும், என்ன இம்பாக்ட் உங்க லைஃப்ல பண்ணுன்னு சொல்ற எல்லா ஆக்டிவிட்டிஸும் they are making out of 10 seconds or at most 20 seconds. Are you with me or not? Do you agree with me or not? So yes, the point is, do you agree with me or not, process?
Yes, sir. I want to quote one thing. There is one book called as Marketing Psychology by Philip Kotler. he actually nicely explained the marketing phenomena, because why these advertisement firms are targeting the children and household women, because there is a process. If the child wants something, it will not go and directly ask his or her father.
Definitely,
So
definitely.
the child will naturally inform
to mother only.
Needs or wants to the mother.
Child
Then the
child will spontaneously will access mother only.
And then
mother
she
only.
goes to the father. So here, father is not the decision maker. Mother is the decision maker. So father's job is only to spend the money.
That's
take his wife.
Thank you, madam. Very honestly, you are exploring
this concept
everything.
Really, I enjoyed from the book Philip Kotler. Why they are targeting? See, that diagram was very nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Everyone should go through that, and it was a fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Very kind of you. Thanks for facilitation. The concept. Now, the pedagogy is so important thing is, as a teacher, please don't make yourself. If you are a good teacher at physical education, if you are a good teacher at yoga, but don't stop your learning at yoga only, please do learn some technology, computer technology. Do learn some communication. Do learn some interpersonal relationship. Do learn some psychological principles, how to deal with children. Because the side-by-side learning, please don't mistake me, the PhD and master degree will never help you. But the additional courses, some diploma courses, some programmed courses, some 6-month courses, some certificate courses will definitely make a distinction from you, yourself, to your fellow competitor. So, in the PG and the yoga, the doctorate உங்களை distinguish பண்ணாது. அதுக்கு மேல இருக்கிற அந்த side by side learning தான் உங்களை distinguish பண்ணும். So you have come out from pedagogy and you have come out from undergraduate, but now you have to exactly concentrate on heutagogy, just cybergogy. Another important thing is actually synergogy at last paragogy. So if at all you are using that heutagogical principle with the technology, what is side by side learning is always possible. As I told you, that multitasking is the always identical mark of the 21st century learner. So in order to meet them, you have to move education technology. So now education technology, what is doing? Actually, when modern machines and gadgets used in teaching learning process, it arouses learners' interest and it gives productive learning. See, suppose if I am endlessly talking without this PPT, without this projection, without this projection aid, probably your understanding will be lower. But while looking to my frame, while just looking at the different frames with the images, some flow chart, some important words that is highlighted, even by the 4 lines, the highlighted points alone will be attracted to your mind. That highlighted points will make you go. Education technology is using modern machines and gadgets. What is it doing? It accelerates learning, rate of learning. In turn, it accelerates learners' interest and it results in productive learning. The productive and product. Product is end product, but productive is just to producing more thing within a short span. Actually, 1 acre 40 bag that is production. But if you are able to harvest 70 bags, that is a productivity. Urpati Tiran, Urpati. So, Urpati Tiran, we have to use education technology. So, there are many definitions for education technology that you can, education technologies, we are improving performance by creating, using management appropriate. But I'm moving to different important aspects. Here I wanted to introduce you how the revolution of education technology, how it is developed in our world. So in order to complete some of the important teaching technology, just I'm drifting all over it. You can have an eye when you have some extra time. By 1470 only, question and answer method was introduced by Socrates. But first time, 450 BC, the word techne was used. But in 17th century only, that John Comenius introduced a textbook. And education television was introduced in 1953 by Texas, University of Houston. And next, by 1956 alone, closed circuit television was introduced in education, and programmed learning was introduced by 1954 by Skinner and Norman A. Crowder. So this is a revolution of education technology. But one thing I wanted to just register, see, one side here you are looking at impact, another side you are looking at time. By the time increasing, your impact also should be increased. See, initially we are teaching by general objects, original objects, later on by mails, then communication technology, that is conversation, only audio, later on audio and video, that is audio and video, that is a two-way, that is one way audio video, so one way audio only, that is a one-way video and two-way audio, the television, later on mobile phone, later on satellite, that is EduSat, later on computer. So now this is the evolution of education technology exclusively in classrooms. Once upon a time we are using blackboard. Blackboard to switch to overhead projector, OHP. I think everyone might have seen OHP. And OHP to TV we used. Nowadays we are doing things through LCD, personal computer and interactive whiteboard. So this interactive whiteboard can be coupled with online learning environment like Google Meet, Zoom, everything. So this is the evolution of teaching aid and teaching learning process. But now, from traditional lectures to nowadays, now we are living at the virtual reality. Now I will introduce you what are the different teaching methods by another 10 minutes. Sharply I will complete by another 10 minutes. So what is the average knowledge retention rate? Before I proceed to the modern teaching method nowadays, you have to know how the knowledge is replicated. The knowledge replication was happened year after another, year after year by 90s, till 90s, till 80s. If a 9th standard boy moved to 10th standard alone, his knowledge will be replicated. His knowledge will be developed, multiplied. If a 5th standard boy moved to 6th standard, he has to wait for 1 year to replicate his knowledge. Our knowledge palki peruvadarku oru varudam kaathirukkum. By the introduction of broadcasting technique, knowledge replication was reduced remarkably into 6 months. By introducing the concept of telecasting, TV, the knowledge replications was reduced into the weeks, days. 2 நாள் 1 நாள்ல டிவில வந்து பார்த்தா நியூஸ் வரதுக்கு முன்னாடி நாலேஜ் ரெப்ளிகேஷன் கிடையாது. அமெரிக்காவில் ஒரு செய்தி நடந்துச்சுன்னா இட் வில் டேக் மினிமம் 1 week or 1 month to reach India by 1800. It will take 6 months to India by 1900. So later on to every corner village, not Chennai only. But now you think, if anything happened at any corner of the world, very next second it is in the hand of your handheld device called mobile phone. See, the knowledge replication is the great identity of the modern technique, modern teaching method. See, average knowledge retention rate, 100% knowledge படிச்சோம்னா சார் என்ன சார் இப்படி எல்லாம் இருக்கா? This is the truth, and this is not prepared by me. This is scientific study. Even this is image is screenshotted from the research studies. In traditional lecture method, only 5% of knowledge could be gained by students. And then now you are telling no group discussion. Group discussion is important element. Group discussion is for recruiting teachers, people. Never do that. 15% of knowledge alone can be gained through group discussions. Infographic, information plus graphical representation. Only 35%, because everyone we used to watch film, especially some important films, Hollywood movies, they are not able to trace the central theme. They are not able to trace the central theme of the Kamal Haasan directed film very easily. You have to watch 3-4 times again and again. In order to conceive an idea, by the so-called poor layman of Tamil Nadu, even has to struggle a lot to understand central theme of the play of Maniratnam. Maniratnam play புரிஞ்சிக்கிறதுக்கு ஒரு rural village இருக்கிற ஒரு lady 2-3 time 4-5 time படம் பார்த்தா தான் புரிய முடியும். She or he cannot understand the film central theme all of a sudden. So video 35% only. Interactive gamification. What is a game based? Game மூலம் விளையாடும் போது 45%. virtual reality la 50% கூடுதல். அப்ப you know the 50% is lateral loss. There was a great communication technique in the earth. ஒருத்தன் காதல கூட்டு ஒரு விஷயம் குசுன்னு கொஞ்சமா சொல்லிட்டோம்னா அவர் வேற ஒருத்தர் சொல்லும் போது அவர் ஒரு சில வார்த்தை ஒரு சில கான்செப்ட் மிஸ் பண்ணி சொல்லுவார். And he will miss something and the fourth person will miss something, fifth person will miss something. Suppose if you are doing an experiment with this 25%, the 26% will completely recite the things something new, or they would have collapsed almost அதை வந்து ரொம்ப collapse பண்ணி ஒரு வேற ஒரு இன்ஃபர்மேஷனா சொல்லுவாங்க. That is a communication loss, lateral loss. Anything that you are instructing to the people will never understand by the learners as it is. ஒரு 50% போய் சேர்றதுக்கே we need for modern technique. அப்ப you imagine, so far we are lecturing to the students for 60 people, 50 people, hours together we are doing. அப்ப 5% knowledge தான் அவங்க புரிஞ்சு கேட்டதாலே போய் நினைச்சிட்டோம். So that is average retention of knowledge by different teaching method. Now we are entering into different teaching method. See, when you are moving from complexity and authenticity, so drill and practices, lifelong learning, integrated learning, productivity, இதெல்லாம் போக போக complexity கூட தான், ஆனா authenticity அதே சமயத்துல வந்து கூட. So authenticity will go high when you use different teaching method. So modern method of teaching will give so much authenticity, but traditional method of teaching will give small authenticity because the information is not so authentic. Once upon a time, so what is the period of Herbert Spencer? Now immediately go Herbert Spencer period, I think it is 470 BC to 650. But now if you are googling it, 100% exact information you will get by a feather touch. So that is why you have to use technology. Before proceed to the different teaching method, all teaching has 3 stages only: pre-stage, interactive stage, post-stage. Pre-stage means before proceed to the teaching process, by which you are fixing your goal and what are the decisions, strategies to be taken. Interactive, that is a teaching stage. You are doing some diagnosis for the learner. What is the problem? Where to be concentrated? So everything. Action and reaction. Post-active means most of the people will think that and the teach 1 hour பண்ணும்போது அதுதான் teaching cycle நினைக்கிறேன். Never. Teaching involves pre-active stage and the post-active stage. நீங்க 1 hour teach பண்ண போறதுக்கு முன்னாடி வரைக்கும், I introduce my own example. No, my teacher, she taught that how this particular Taruni and Sivaperuman conversation should be introduced to the students. So that she made a pre-active stage, she purchased a cassette, and she made a post-active stage. Okay, after teaching those thing, she asked us to listen to that radio once again. So the thing is, teaching does not end with 1 hour. Teaching does not end with one session. It is an endless process. It is a continuous process from womb to tomb. Like that, நீங்க first class போறதுக்கு முன்னாடியும் பண்ற வர்க்கும், class முடிச்சிட்டு நான் உங்களுக்கு கொடுக்கிற assignment, summarizing, recapitulations எல்லாம் சேர்ந்தாதான் that is teaching. Now we will move to different modern method. இப்போ modern method போன உடனே there are 3 important principles of education. இப்படிதான் method of teaching they used to classify. The one is actually facilitated learning, collaborative learning, and constructivist learning. A teacher has to think whether I should make students to construct knowledge, or I should make students to collaborate knowledge, I should make students to simplify knowledge. But facilitated learning probably applied to the school students. For example, if ஒரு school teacher drill and practice மூலமா ஒரு poem நடத்தலாம், ஒரு dictating words நடத்தலாம், language, alphabets, இதெல்லாம் facilitated learning. Collaborative learning, some engineering, technology, and especially some projects, then you can go for collaborative learning. But most of the modern teaching methods are emerged out of constructivist learning method only. So that is a theory. Now, there are 4 important schools of our educational thoughts, psychology and philosophy. இங்கிருந்து எல்லா modern methodum develop ஆகுது. The one is behaviorism, another one is cognitivism, third one is connectivism, and fourth one is constructivism. What is behaviorism? Now you see how the method is to be adopted, for which I do not ridicule lecture method. I do not underestimate lecture method. Lecture method is a very high economical method. In a small amount of time, you can cover maximum information, maximum input. So lecture, drill and best practice, rote learning, multiple choice. This is behaviorism. It always deal with the behavior of the people. But the cognitivism, it gives much importance to knowledge of the people. But the connectivism, affective. See some important emotions, love, affection, belongingness, all that emotions can be taught out of connectivism only. That is spontaneous group, spontaneous learning, sharing of content, sharing of resources, everything. Constructivism, it is a combination of all construct. Behaviorism, cognitivism, connectivism. It together makes constructivism. We are constructing new knowledge, we are constructing relationship, we are constructing interpersonal relationship, we are constructing everything. So that is constructivism. In the 4 school of education, different modern methods of teaching. So finally, nowadays, 5 group of pedagogical approach. Only constructivist approach. Constructivist, whether they have to construct knowledge or not. For collaborative, collaborate panni new knowledge kondu. Integrative, they have to integrate. Assignment is an integrative technique. Project is a collaborative technique. Writing exam and producing, creating video, creating demonstration, creating new PowerPoint, project work, project presentation, seminar, symposium, everything constructive. So reflective is just writing exams, reciting poem, reciting knowledge, and last is inquiry based. So these are all the important approach. Now straight away I will take you what culture you need to know for the different modern teaching method. First, a learner must be self-directed, self-motivated, self-regulating, and lifelong learning. If you go for modern method of teaching, unless otherwise you do make changes in learner, you cannot adopt modern method. In modern method, the students must be ready to learn at any time, 24/7. Because in MOOC courses, massive open online courses, you are welcome to log on to the website and go on and complete your task at any time, even at midnight. So you must be with this particular character. A teacher with more knowledge and skillful, understanding learning, facilitated, create learning opportunity. Not waiting for learning opportunity, he has to create learning opportunity. And then administrator.
Last week
that administrator has to create a learning environment. So these are all the important learning environment that we need. Okay. Now, if you are moving for any new modern technique, now you have to specify. Modernity means what? What is augmenting? So what aspects of teaching and learning do we want to get into modern method? Are you wanted to augment? Are you wanted to replace? Or you wanted to make it automated or decentralized reform? Automated means some learning management system is automated. So for example, if you have joined a MOOC course, you might now know very well. Actually, one course or particular module mudichana adutha module ungal allow pannum. Adu irukku ungal allow pannum. So that is called automated. Where teacher is replaced. And augmentation, some important video, animation, that vector animation, polar animation, vector graphic, polar graphics. So these are all important. So reform, decentralize, automate, replace, augment. These are the different modernity. And what modernity you want, you have to decide. First thing is constructivist learning method. There are different methods called embedded learning, social negotiation learning, multiple model representation, student ownership, and student self-awareness, 5 types. What is constructivism theory? There are cognitive constructivism, so out of which radical constructivism, personal constructivism, cultural, many constructivism is there. But to the physical education people, you need to know cognitive and social. First, schema, mental framework. You all might have studied about hippocampus and amygdala. While hippocampus is considered to be seat of learning, amygdala is considered to be seat of emotions. All the yoga masters would have known pretty well about hippocampus and amygdala. You see, constructivism method alone will make some definite change in the schema. As I told you, assimilation, accommodation. Assimilation never makes your schema. New information only is adding, but accommodation will make a schema to get modified. What is called that cognitive constructivism. But social constructivism claims that knowledge is well constructed under social setting, scaffolding, tutoring, zone of proximal development. Zone of proximal development as a yoga technique. Suppose if I'm showing very much proximity with my teacher, I will develop. ஆசிரியரோட யார் அதிகமாக நெருங்கி போகிறானோ அந்த ஆசிரியருடைய வட்டத்துக்குள்ள நெருங்கி போக போக அவனுடைய லேர்னிங் அதிகமாகும். ஆசிரியரை விட்டு இடைவெளி அதிகமாக அவனோட லேர்னிங் குறையும். தட் இஸ் ஜோன் ஆஃப் ப்ராக்சிமிட்டி மீன்ஸ் க்ளோஸ் ப்ராக்சிமல் டெவலப்மெண்ட். அதான் ஆசிரியருக்கு பக்கத்துலயே குரு பக்கத்துல இருக்க நிறைய லேர்ன் பண்ணிக்கும். In yoga also, once you are showing very much proximity with the guru, your yoga mastery will be developed. If you are making distance with your guru, your yoga performance will be definitely never be accelerated very fast. So constructivist learning theory is telling that it is constructing new knowledge instead of learning. ஒரு விஷயத்தை லேர்ன் பண்றது பதிலா புதுசா கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ட் பண்ண வைக்குது. That is the first important modern method of teaching. And the second thing, gamification. What is a gamification? Making learning as game or integrate games with learning called gamification. So game plus education called, that is game plus learning called gamified learning. So 12 types of learning. What is? ஒரு சேலஞ்சை வந்து கேம் ஆக்கலாம், ஒரு பீஸ் சில துண்டுகளை வந்து கேம் ஆக்கலாம், ஸ்டோரிஸை கேம் ஆக்கலாம், டைமை கேம் ஆக்கலாம், இமோஷன்ஸ் கூட கேம் ஆக்கலாம். Some emotions when it is played. See, யார் கூட நீங்க ப்ளே பண்ண முடியும்? The closed one, the close friends. Father, mother, siblings, இவங்க கூட தான் கேம் பண்ண முடியும். Game cannot be conducted with anyone else. See, emotions can be played, feedback can be played, goals. So there are 12 important strategies that you can make out of game. So first thing is constructivism. Second thing is gamification. Gamification is gamified learning, means actually making our learning, making our education into game. That is gamification. Third thing, edutainment. Edutainment is equal to education plus entertainment. Game வேறு, entertainment வேறு. All games will entertain you, but all entertainment is not your game. All entertainment is not a game. So edutainment is education plus entertainment. Maximum it is applied to the age group of 8 to 18. Till 18 you can apply. You cannot adapt edutainment to the postgraduate student. Next thing, you can go for infotainment. Information plus entertainment called infotainment. So constructivism, gamified, edutainment, infotainment. That is a gamification. Gamification already you know is a project-based learning. It is a use of technology, many things. So within 1.5 hours, I can introduce a method of teaching only. So suppose if I am given more time, I would have given more time, I would have introduced to each and everything. But I am introducing you different teaching learning techniques. And another thing, A to Z approach you might have heard. But the Z to A approach, fifth modern method of teaching is Z to A. What is a Z to A? Z to A explain application part of particular concept. Instead of knowing what is meaning, definition, concept, types, principle, method, no, straight away going for application part. What is the use of that? What is the use of yeast? Yeast help us to make bread. But what is another thing is cake, like that. How the yeast works and how much amount of yeast to be done. Appa ada dosa poradhukku, and what is that another? What is important? Appam poradhukku yeast is required or not? Appam is very much delicious, very much delicate once the yeast is added. If you are not knowing the ratio of adding the yeast into rice dough, your adai, your appam cannot be just made properly. So Z2A approach is educating children to explain the application part of the thing first. So it takes much long time. It is initial difficulty, but once you have started doing well, students will exactly do that. That is a sixth thing. So this is an experiment. So due to want of time, just I am skipping the interaction with you people. So next I will move to problem-based learning. So problem-based learning has 6 stages. See, first identify problem. That problem area, problem, then brainstorming information, and you direct yourself and assimilate new knowledge and apply the information and come to a result or inference. And the fifth one is remediation. Remediation is a modern method of teaching. Identify where the student has problem. Identify the lacune. Identify the area of the problem. Once you are,
Participants,
and the
please
problem
wait.
the path to rectify panna. Let me take, madam, shall I take 1 more minute? 1 more minute?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Professor,
Your voice was not audible. Now it's audible.
No, can I take 1 more minute, 2-3 minutes like that?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay. So remediation means when actually your student have some problem in particular area, and the problem identify and the problem mattum clear pannadina, that is a remediation technique. And another important text, TPAC, technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge. TPAC has 20 skills. Now you have to trace out these 20 skills are unparalleled, so important to each and every teachers. You have to know word processing skill, spreadsheet skill, database skill. So the 20 skills make teachers very pakka to the 21st century. Suppose if you are not replaced by, you will be replaced by another person. Okay, that is a TPAC. Next, so this is the pedagogical knowledge, technological knowledge, content knowledge. So that is a combination, technological and pedagogical, TPK, and a combination of technology and content called TCK, technological content knowledge, and a combination of PCK means pedagogical content knowledge, PCK. So TPCK means technological, pedagogical, content knowledge. So all that things actually united together is called TPAC knowledge. Next, as I already explained you concept BYOD to BOD. You ask your students to bring something, any object, any devices, anything. If it is new token, Kundalini yoga or something, many yoga, no, you can make them to practice different yoga. You have completed all that thing Kundalini, then you can go for Katha yoga. So many things actually you can, because learning is limitless. Learning has no boundary. Once that is called customized learning. You have to customize. You have to tailor your skill. See, I learned English, I learned Tamil. Let me know Hindi. I learned Hindi. Let me know French. English knowledge with French with the doctorate has lot of scope in UNESCO. If you are applying to that, immediately you will place. Most of the people do not know. I have completed physical education doctorate. I have completed doctorate in yoga, but I don't have opportunity. You complete your French, a master degree in French, or you be excellent at French, or complete your research degree and complete your master degree in yoga, and you are having a scope in UNESCO, and you are making a draft, say I am good at English, yoga and French. Why I may not be given an opportunity throw light on yoga research in your UNESCO? You will be given placement. So actually the bring your own, the customized learning is very important. That can do. And model of education, extended learning means actually exceptional and motivated learning. Exceptional means, you know, that deaf, dumb, blind, and visually impaired, hearing impaired, all that special people is called extended learning. So extended learning means people, they need dance, they need chess, they need agriculture, safety, collaborative. So this is called extended learning program. Next we will know self-directed learning, already I told you. Next collaborative learning also I told you. Then more learning. More learning is, there is a learning called more learning, more than previously possibly through print technology. Whatever you are learning out of a textbook, if you have started learning beyond the textbook, called more learning. Teacher will never always be a source of more learning. It is out of the interest of the learner. Nowadays, massive open online courses are there. Even I myself have completed 7 courses. Now, 7 course, non student join pani, 7 orbit course na mudichu vechirken. I need, because I am as associate professor, I need not complete course because my due are all over. But also I am learning because I wanted to enrich myself. So that is a more learning. Next, another so important concept of nowadays called blended. Blending means mixing. Mixing of face-to-face and mixing of online called blended learning. There are 6 models: rotation model, flex model, like that. So blended learning is blending of online and offline. So that is blended learning. So another model is spaced learning, flipped learning, self-learning, VAK, that is visual, auditory and kinesthetic. மூன்றுமே விஷுவல்னா கண்ணால் பார்த்து காதால கேட்டு பிளஸ் செய்து பார்க்கிறது. That is Montessori method. And crossover learning, service learning, social emotional. What is service learning, sir? Learning for service. Learning for service. Service learning means what? I have to serve to the people of French. I have to service to the people for pronunciation. Pronunciation மட்டும் சொல்லி கொடுக்கிறது. யோகா இது மட்டும் சொல்லி கொடுக்கிறது. மைண்ட்ஃபுல்னஸ் மட்டும் சொல்லி கொடுக்கிறது. மொத்தம் மெடிடேஷன், மொத்தம் யோகா இல்லாம மெடிடேஷன் மட்டும் சொல்லி கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா அந்த பையனை நல்வழிப்படுத்துறது ஏதாவது சொல்லி கொடுத்து, that is service learning. Lot of things are there. So project based learning, problem solving learning, design thinking learning, thinking based learning, competency based learning, like many learning. Flipped means as blended learning என்றது கலப்பு, mixing of online and offline. That flipped classroom is reverse 180 degree, அப்படியே flip தலைகீழாக எப்படின்னா ஏற்கனவே நீங்க என்ன வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அவனுக்கு சொல்லி கொடுத்து டெஸ்ட் வைப்பீங்க. பட் என்னன்னா ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டெஸ்ட் வச்சுட்டு அங்க என்ன தப்பு பண்றான் அப்படின்னு அதுக்கப்புறம் அவனுக்கு கொடுக்கறதா வந்து ஃபிளிப்டு கிளாஸ் ரூம். நவடேஸ் வெரி வண்டர்ஃபுல் டெக்னாலஜி. ஸோ நெக்ஸ்ட் பைட் சைஸ்டு லேர்னிங். Bite sized learning now you are learning nowadays happening through bytes of computer. See 4 seconds from 12 to 8 seconds. So bite sized learning means one day I have to consume this much byte to complete. You take what? You take resolutions. ஒரு நாளைக்கு கம்ப்யூட்டர் நான் இத்தனை லாங்குவேஜ் தெரிஞ்சுக்குவேன், இத்தனை vocabularies தெரிஞ்சுக்குவேன், and I have to know different sides and இவ்வளோ எஜுகேஷனல் ரிசோர்சஸ் நான் தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும். இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் நிறைய வெப்சைட்ஸ் இருக்கு. ஸோ திஸ் ஆர் ஆல் கேன் பி டேக்கன். ஸோ எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் லேர்னிங் அட் லாஸ்ட் that is concept oriented, sorry, CGI, cognitive guided instruction. You are not guided, you are not seeking guide, you are guided to yourself by CGI, cognitive guided instruction. You are a guide to you. அதான் வந்து செல்ஃப் PhD இருக்கு. இப்போ யார்கிட்டையும் கைடா இல்லாம நீங்களே என்ன பண்ணலாம், போஸ்ட் டாக் பண்ணலாம். You need not wait for a supervisor. அதான் வந்து பார்த்தா autonomous PhD, individual PhD, you can do that like cognitive guided instruction. Next, reciprocal learning. What is a reciprocal? Giving and take. What you are giving, the same thing you will get. So reciprocal means predicting, clarifying, questioning, summarizing. So what you predict, the same thing you will clarify. The same thing you will be questioning. The same thing you will getting back as summarizing. That is called a reciprocal learning. So these are different modern method of teaching. That is concept oriented reading instruction called CORI. So concept oriented reading instruction, it's not reading, but concept oriented instruction, it results in exclusive learning of a new language. So language and science can be taken well through this method. At last, we are in a mode of virtual reality and augmented reality. If you are moving to the fun mall and most of the different fun cities, and especially shopping mall, in the mall actually you would have given that VR glass, virtual reality. Virtual reality will give you the most appealing as that you are in the world. Virtual reality. Virtual reality means you can only feel that you are there, there. But augmented reality is something more that you can make yourself as you are touching. But virtual reality, நீங்க அந்த இடத்துல இருக்கிற மாதிரி மட்டும் தான் ஃபீல் கொடுக்கும் உங்களுக்கு. virtual reality கிளாஸ் போட்டு மால்ல போனீங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, சில கேம்ஸ்லாம் கொடுத்தா நீங்க அங்க இருக்கிற மாதிரி பயம் வரும். So the virtual reality தான் நீங்க today very good trend. But augmented reality means, for example, ஒரு printing ஒரு இன்விடேஷன் கொடுக்கணும்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, அந்த இன்விடேஷனவே வாசமா கொடுக்கணும்னா அந்த இன்விடேஷன் வாசமே வந்து பத்துன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், அப்படியே நீங்க வந்து என்னன்னா பிரிண்டிங் டெக்னாலஜிலே வாசனை சேர்த்துருவாங்க. அதே மாதிரி ஃப்ளோர்லேயே வந்து இப்போ நிறைய ஃப்ளோரிங்லாம் வந்திருக்கு ஆக்மெண்டட் வர்ச்சுவல் ரியாலிட்டி. ஃப்ளோரே நடந்து போகும்போது மீன் நீந்துற மாதிரி இருக்கும், தண்ணி ஓடுற மாதிரி இருக்கும், ஆனால் கையில கால் வச்சு பார்த்தோம்னா ஒண்ணுமே இருக்காது. By glittering. So that kind of technology has come out right from architecture to education. So virtual reality இன்னைக்கு நாங்க வந்து எஜுகேஷன் டெக்னாலஜி நிறைய அப்ளிகேஷன்ஸ் பசங்களுக்கு எப்படி virtual reality இப்போ 360 டிகிரி, இப்போ எஸ்பெஷலி அனாட்டமி, பயாலஜி இதெல்லாம் படிக்கும்போது virtual reality and augmented reality doing wonder. So this together called MR, mixed reality. So augmented reality, virtual reality, this mixed together, united called mixed reality. So these are all the different teaching method. So with the few words, just I stop my presentation. I'm very much thankful to each and every one of you. Madam?
Yeah. More important than the curriculum is the question of the method of teaching and the spirit in which the teaching is given. The purpose of education is not making a student literate, but adds rational thinking, knowledgeability, and self-sufficiency. When there is a willingness to change, there is a hope for progress in the field. Creativity can be developed. It is the key to innovation. Thank you, sir, for making the session interactive and enlightening us with the proficient knowledge on teaching methods in a very short time with practical example. Thank you.
Thank you. Any clarification, any questions? Nothing discussion, madam? Nothing. Okay. Any clarification, any participant, any clarification?
Participants, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box. At such a they want to PPT to be shared.
Okay, thank you, madam. Shall I leave meeting? Meeting, madam?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the enlightenment. Participants, PPT will be shared with you. Now I hand over the session to G. Nalini, PhD scholar, FYST Maher.
Thank you, Pallavi. now addressed by Professor Dr. Akshay Anand, the professor in charge of Central Council for Research in Yoga and Naturopathy, Collaborative Center for Mind-Body Intervention through Yoga, PGIMER, Chandigarh. So before inviting our chief guest, I would like to give small introduction. Dr. Akshay Anand, who has graduated from Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, PGIMER. After obtaining his postdoctoral training at same institute, he joined the University of Kentucky as scientist level 2. After serving there for 2 years, he returned to join the faculty of Department of Neurology, PGIMER. He was instrumental in setting up the Neuroscience Research Lab, which is compliant to GLP principles. He is having 21 years of postdoctoral experience, and he has also been involved in the discovery of animal model of AMD published in Nature Medicine, and he has over 211 publications, 189 as corresponding author in international peer-reviewed journals, besides filing and 4 patent applications. He serves as visiting professor of Kyoto University of Medicine and visiting distinguished professor in Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anushadana, Samsthana S. Vyasa, and earlier served with Lesia, Ukraine Eastern European National University, Lutz Sri Sri Institute of Advanced Research, Bangalore, as its visiting scientist. He has continued to remain funded for research since he joined as faculty with an average of 4 to 5 grants at any point. And he has won so many awards. Dr. Anand was nominated for prestigious Padma Award 2020, besides being honored by UT Police for exemplary work in advancement of yoga research. He has been awarded for ICMRA Amrut Modi Unichem Prize 2012, Annual PGI Faculty Award 2013-14, and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Foundation 9th International Prestigious Sardar Patel Award, and in 2014 ICMR Shakuntala Amit Chand Award, and Dr. Keshav Baliram Healing Award in 2021. He was awarded with Young Scientist Award from DAE 2005 and runner-up for NASI Scopus Award for Biological Sciences 2012, and served as the judge at ISEF USA 2002 to 2003. And he has mentored his PhD students to lead the Swachh Bharat Combined for which the team was awarded the Bharat Nirman Award in the Behavioral Change category by Ministry of Science and Technology, IISF 2017. And he has supervised 14 PhD theses, 26 grants, and 211 publications. So with this small introduction, I hand over the session to you, sir.
Thank you very much for a very generous introduction. Like as you can all see, I'm actually have a little bit of a scheduling problem with the program that you have very nicely organized. I was actually coming down from a trip to a hill station up in the Himalayas, and there was some problem while we were coming back. And so the delay has caused me to address you all through this, through my journey, which I hope you will be able to appreciate, and I will enjoy talking to you from this platform.
Sorry for the interruption, sir. Sorry for the interruption, sir. Your voice is breaking.
Yeah, is this okay now? You have to
Yes, sir,
bear with me because I'm traveling down from the hills in the Himalayas. There was a scheduling problem because of some journey delays as a result of some problem in the road. As a result, the signal may be good at certain places, at the other places it may not be good. Please bear with me. We are about to touch the planes. What I was trying to tell you was to, first of all, at the outset, I'd like to thank Dr. Ilan Govind for the invitation to talk to the faculty. And I hope this interaction is meaningful, even though I'm speaking from a different platform. Is this audible, Madam?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So let's get started with why we do research. We've been having very good presentations. We had talk about artificial intelligence and the person before me speaking about different issues. But what is most important to all the faculty, all of you who are involved in teaching and research, is to do research in a manner so that it is applicable and is also useful for our students. And more importantly for yoga, the research has to be an important issue because it is not just an experiential science in which we want to experience the beauty and the benefits of yoga for our health and spiritual upliftment, but to be able to share the data beyond our own self-centered benefits that we derive from yoga. So that requires us to do a lot of research. The more the research data comes from yoga research, more we are able to use it for integration in the healthcare policy, for running various healthcare programs, which are of benefit for lifestyle diseases and many pre-surgical and post-surgical recovery programs, for stress reduction programs, as well as risk reduction for various lifestyle disorders. But this research, as we appreciate, is important not only because it is to be of use to society outside our own self, our own inner self, but the way this has to be done and the way this data becomes more verifiable requires some ethical standards. So I will be speaking to you all, faculty members, about the importance of ethics in research. Now, what do you mean by ethics? Ethics, the entire concept of ethics actually started after people talked of all the bad stories that came out from the Hitler's World War programs. We all heard of the gas chambers where people were exterminated. We also heard of many unethical trials of various drugs which were carried out in those times. And that's after which the Helsinki Declaration came out, which were a set of guidelines that put forth some do's and don'ts for doing some research, whether that pertained to humans, that was called as human ethical research, and if it pertained to animals, it was called the animal ethical research. And more lately, the research as it expanded into stem cells, it was called the stem cell ethical research. Now, when we are entering into a re-emerging area of yogic sciences, we may like to fashion it as yoga ethical research, even though this will fall under the area of institute human ethics committees. When we do any research, it's so important that the person who is doing research is competent, is an expert, preferably trained in yoga methodology, trained in the yogic practice, as well as has enough published literature that qualifies the person to be a good scientist, a yoga scientist. This is a prerequisite because if the person is trained in yogic sciences, as preferably a PhD, he or she will be able to conduct research in a more meaningful fashion. Will be able to design the studies such that they yield meaningful data. Should be able to discuss the results of that data in a cause-effect relationship sequence, and not just haphazardly and speculate over the results of the data. So the primary guidelines set out as for a certain level of expertise of the yoga investigator who conducts the research. This is about the ethics involved in the yoga research as far as the principal investigator is concerned. Now, these three domains that I just mentioned, namely Institute Human Ethics, the Institute Animal Ethics, and the Institute Stem Cell Ethics, are now slowly expanding into Ayush Ethics, where many institutes
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Helsinki Declaration of Ethics.
Sir, it's not audible.
Yeah, this will resume as we twist and turn through various mountains. Is this good? Is this good?
Yes, sir.
This is good, right? Please bear with me. We are about to touch the plains, and very soon there will be uninterrupted interaction and fluent speech.
Can you switch off the video and just keep the audio on so that the network will be better?
All right, is this good? Is this better?
Yeah,
Is this
it's
better?
fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Excellent. So I was talking to you about how important is ethics and why research, and then why ethics in research. So we need, before starting any study on the effect of yoga protocols or other yoga intervention studies, we need to have a proper plan in place, a plan of how we would carry out a before and after study that we are planning to do, a plan of what the yoga protocol would look like if it has been validated, and if it is not already copyrighted, and if it is so, then has the permissions been taken. So a set of guidelines that become a part of an ethical conduct is what is going to be the topic of discussion today. So at the time when we execute a study, we write down a proposal that is reviewed by an human ethics committee. And this is frustrating for a lot of investigators. However, we need to be careful that these ethical standards should meet the rigor of science. And the rigor of science is what is designed to calculate the sample size that is going to be objected.
Participants, please wait. Due to some network issue, sir has got disconnected. Once he will join, we'll again start our session. Participants, please bear with the network issue as sir is traveling due to some scheduling issues. So we have to continue with this. Sir, you can continue now. Sir, your audio is not connected.
Someone has to tell me.
Yeah, it's your audio is breaking, sir.
No?
Can't hear. Oh. No, sir, you are not. The audio is very much feeble.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Great. So I was talking about going back to the importance of why we do research, why we do yoga research, why ethics is important. And we were talking about the importance of every yoga research, yoga intervention plan to be subjected to ethical review. And such ethical reviews are conducted in three main broadly defined committees that I mentioned. The first is the Human Ethics Committee. And I was telling you all that the human, so whenever I am not audible, please alert me. Just tell me I'm not audible. So
Okay,
I will
sir.
know and I will not continue speaking. Yeah, thank you.
Sure, sure.
So from the human ethics point of view, every research and all the faculty members should bear in mind that every time you conceptualize a program, a research plan, it should pass through a human ethics committee. A human ethics committee traditionally comprise of, as per the ICMR guidelines, individuals who are domain experts. Domain experts include experts who worked in medicine, from the basic sciences, a layman, a person of law, and if it is an Ayush related or a yoga related work, then a person from a yoga community should also be represented. Having constituted such an ethical committee, which every institute should have, the particular program or a research proposal that is conceptualized is vetted through this committee, and the proposal is looked at and screened. Sample size is include a sample size calculation in all the research proposals, and then the methodology as it is presented, whether it is a before and after study or it is a randomized control trial between one group practicing yoga and the other being in control as a control. Controls and that are age matched, they are sex matched, they are as much as possible demographically matched. And once these important methodological points are considered by the committee, you may be asked to explain how will you carry out the study. Will you be carrying out the study without asking for the consent of the subjects, or will you be taking a consent? And if you will be taking the consent, what will be the format of consent? Will you be telling the subjects that will undergo a yoga practice or even the control practice, or I mean without practice yoga, wait-listed control? All of them have to give informed consent as per the guidelines of the ethical review committee or a human ethics committee. This particular form should include questions such as what will be the format of the consent form, whether there will be a witness who will sign and attest to the fact that the subject is giving one's permission to do research, whether if the samples are involved, other samples being, what is the amount of blood being withdrawn, if the subject is being subjected to physiological analysis or brain imaging analysis or other biochemical and vital information analysis or data capture before and after, or control versus test, if the person who is conducting such research has sufficient expertise. So these are very important points, because once you are out with your data of, let us say, 100 individuals practicing yoga protocol for 3 months versus those who remain waitlisted for 3 months, and the parameters that I just mentioned, if they are analyzed, how should you save yourself from any suspected criticism that you have not taken permission, that you have subjected the subject or the individual or a volunteer to unethical research. So therefore, these forms provide a ready-made framework of guidelines that protects the investigator as well as the subject from being exploited on either case by any party. Therefore, even though I am aware of many research studies in yoga being done without ethical research,
Sir, you are not
to your ethics committee. Okay. Just let me know when I'm audible.
Yeah, audible now.
Audible, great. Thank you for your assistance. So sometimes those who send their proposal to the ethics committee are confronted with scientific questions such as, why are you carrying out this research? Why are you measuring the heart rate variability? Why are you doing the imaging? Has there been any study before this who have shown that the yoga practice reduces cholesterol or improves heart rate variability or it improves the gray matter volume. And oftentimes an investigator feels frustrated that why am I being asked scientific questions? This is an ethics review. But we must bear in mind that the ethics, as I also mentioned, is very intimately linked with the scientific perspective. Because if you're asking a wrong research question, employing a wrong sample size, or analyzing the data sets that may not be relevant to that research that you are asking in the form of a research question, then it becomes an ethical question, because then the outcomes and the results may not be useful to address the research question at hand. Therefore, it would, in a way, indirectly become an unethical research, in the sense that all the blood that will be collected, or basically various measurements that will be done, or various clinical psychology parameters that will be captured, may be just a waste of time for both the subject as well as the investigator. So be very ready to face these scientific questions. At the end, this will only help you to improve the research proposal and save you from any possible criticism, and particularly for those enthusiastic and ambitious investigators that are trying to come out with new mechanisms and new investigations that are oriented towards knowledge advancement in the field. So therefore, please take them in the stride. Now, ethics of yoga research or any research is not always restricted or confined to human ethics, because there are many research questions that may like to be taken out of a human body to animals. I may give you an example, something that we are also doing in our studies in the prisons, and one particular pregnancy yoga project we are carrying out. Now, what we are doing in this yoga pregnancy project is just to illustrate this by an own self-example of our work. We are subjecting these ladies to yoga protocol for 4 months. So, second trimester has a certain type of a yoga protocol. Third trimester has a more lighter and diluted form of more of a meditation practice protocol. And before and after 4 months, we conduct all the ultrasounds, they take the blood. We also look at their stress and the anxiety scores, besides also calculating heart rate variability. And eventually, we also collect the umbilical cord blood. And the idea is to look at the cord blood derived stem cell population, mainly CD34 and CD45 cells, if whether the yoga practice has improved or decreased or not affected this population of stem cells. And the yoga practicing pregnant women when they gave or donated their umbilical cord blood. So what we then do is to look to purify these stem cells from the umbilical cord blood, a certain type of stem cells, and then use these stem cells to transplant them into an animal model of memory loss or an animal model of injury. And our basic research question is to find out, to just explore if an injury created in an animal model of Alzheimer's disease or simply a retinal injury can be rescued by the blood product, here stem cells, of a pregnant yoga practicing woman versus those who did not practice yoga. Well, the idea here, I will not get into the science behind it, but what I am trying to tell you is that the stem cell, the yoga ethical related research question may not always be confined to a human ethics committee. It may even pertain to the animal ethics committee. Now, animal ethics committee is also a part of every institution which looks at the number of animals used, and if this kind of a surgery or an injury to animal is justified, and if it is justified to the extent that it helps in human welfare or human health, advancement of knowledge in human health research. So they have their own set of guidelines and research performers that ask questions about how mice subjected to such disease conditions will be treated or rehabilitated, or if how will the pain in such mice caused due to such planned injury would be addressed. And if there is no way to do this kind of study without sacrificing the life. So one may also find it very, very useful to adhere to the norms of the animal ethics committee as well. As you may know, the Animal Welfare Board looks after the animal rights. We see dogs in our neighborhoods and streets, and even though they may bite us, we are sometimes left helpless. And this is primarily because of the welfare groups that exist in our society, the animal activists and so on. In one particular incident, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, they had to close their animal house about 2 decades back when a particular lady that you all know is an animal activist, who was also a former minister, apparently asked some people to visit the animal house, and they presumably found some compromise in the welfare activities of this animal, that they had to close that animal house. So the entire research went down the drain. It also brought a very bad name to that institute at that time. Similar thing was repeated about 10 years back with relation to another stem cell therapist in Delhi practicing in the private setup, as well as at the same institute which I just named, for not having a stem cell ethical committee. Whereas the aim of this faculty training program organized by Dr. Ilan is to sensitize the faculty to maintain the ethical standards in research, so that it doesn't bring a bad name to Meenakshi University of Higher Education or to those who are participating in this seminar. And so they are able to exercise not only the knowledge they have gained for the benefit of society and for their self-development, inner enrichment, but more importantly for doing research that they are doing in a maintaining the ethical standards. Ethical standards, as I mentioned, the human ethics. Ethical standards, as I mentioned, the animal ethics. Now there's a third set of ethical committee that I mentioned was a stem cell ethical committee. Now, if you remember, I just narrated to you our own pregnancy yoga project, and you might recall that I also mentioned stem cells in that. Many of our body parts have resident stem cells, although the core source of stem cells in the body are umbilical cord, bone marrow, and what you might have heard of is embryonic stem cells, and now more recently the iPSCs, or the induced pluripotent stem cells. Now these 4 kinds of stem cells, these 4 sources of stem cells are all subject to manipulation, and therefore the standards have been brought together and are required to be complied to as per the international guidelines by what is known as the Stem Cell Ethical Committee. So in our pregnancy project also, since the stem cells are involved, we took not only the human ethics approval for this study, we also took the animal ethics committee, because the animal was to be used as a transplantation, as I explained, but also the stem cell ethical approval, because the stem cells were also involved. So adherence to these protocols and these guidelines, regulatory norms, saves the investigator the embarrassment. Embarrassment, I explained very briefly, as it happened in case of one of the private stem cell therapist and this big institution in New Delhi that I just named. But there may be even more embarrassing situations where you do not adhere to the ethics, and those could be, to illustrate to you something which is not alien to all of us in our professional world and community, which is called rivalry, jealousy. If one performs better than the other, it is not so unnatural for others to find faults in your research paper, or in your performance or work or output or productivity. Or more recently, more people looking for more and more people, more and more rivals or adversaries, or if I may call them anti-yoga lobbyists, to look for holes in ethical, how much their yoga research meets the ethical standard. Therefore, it's even more important for us yoga community researchers to be vigilant about adherence issues, regulatory issues, such as those that fall in the domain of ethics. And this protects us and provides a shield of providing data to whoever asks for it, whether they are adversaries or anti-yoga lobbyists. Because if our data is properly documented and has cleared all the ethical committee hurdles, we can present the data and silence every critic. Besides, we improve in our research and scientific standards and scientific rigor of the research work when we pass it through these committees. Now, let's switch gears and try to find out what are the ethical standards pertaining to the safety of the yoga practice, which is outside the domain of research. When you do a yoga practice in a studio or from your own yoga sessions that you hold on the screen or by what is known as the online yoga sessions, there are tele-yoga guidelines that have been promulgated, have been communicated through Mr. Ayush. I believe they have been communicated. I was a party to it, partly to provide my comments. I think they are out. So it is expected of us to adhere to your tele-yoga guidelines for best ethical standards. Ethical standards also are a part of your own certification of yoga as a master's student or a PhD or even a certificate course or PGYT course, because they make you sign an oath that you will be respectful to your subject, to your patient, and particularly if the subject belongs to the opposite sex. As this ensures that the therapy or the yoga session is insulated from any misbehavior or anything that may attract attention. So our ethical standards at the level of practice, at the level of teaching, are pretty much self-regulated and are also a shield and also a tool to propagate the excellent ancient and scientific knowledge of the wisdom of yoga. And this ancient science that it has given to us needs to move forward with these standard, both ancient as well as modern ethical standards. And this may even be a part of research, because if the research that is done in yoga is not systematic or is not like a large clinical trial, it may still be a single case report. We in our PGI Chandigarh publish integrative medicine case reports. Only journal we believe publishes reports of your own yoga practice or other Ayush practice before and after effect of whatever you have given as an intervention as a research case report. But we do not accept any research report that has not documented the informed consent of a participant or a subject. And this is very important because even though you cannot have a standard ethical committees that are named, for one patient case report, 1, 2 or 3, I believe, you can still not send it to, as long as you have informed consent borrowed from any of the good institutions, filled by the participant or a patient, and then countersigned by a witness who is not. And then if video and audiograph is an additional evidence that you have not forced the person to be a subject of research, will ensure that you can submit such a case report, such a research report to our journal, integrative medicine case report. This may apply to other journals because they may ask you for it, but this is a provision we give to those that do not have institutional ethical committees and are limited to 1 to 3 individual case reports. Now, there are other ethical standards that I'm thinking of as I'm traveling, and I'm thinking of the data that is captured from such research when it is becoming a manuscript or a research publication. And then you are putting this draft together for all of those who work together. One person could have been a biochemist who analyzed the blood samples. The other could be the person who gave the yoga practice. The third could be merely a conceptualizer or a research design specialist who actually thought of it and asked a good research question and put it in the form of a research proposal. So primarily they become the co-authors of a manuscript who draft this manuscript and approve as it is when it is submitted to the journal for further communication and being made visible in the public domain. Now, this is an issue which is an issue of authorship consent, which is required by all good journals where you want to publish your research. And authorship consent is another ethical document that we all in our academia try to follow and adhere to. And therefore, I would like to encourage you to whenever you communicate a research data manuscript, please take consent from each and every person who was involved in this study. And if you have any doubt of that person feeling that he or she should be the author and has not been made the author, there are what are called as the ICMJE guidelines, because ICMJ is International Committee of Medical Journal, something like that. You can type, Google it and find out. And this particular committee is in a consortium of editors who have code of conduct for how the authorships will be determined. This particular guideline does not encourage people to be authors if they have not contributed in writing, in conceptualization, or doing the real groundwork or the experimentation. So every author can be an author in a manuscript if he or she has not only conceptualized or contributed to conceptualization of a research project or a manuscript. Number 2 has contributed as a co-author in the writing of the manuscript. Number 3 has also done the experimentation part of ground level with relation to this particular research data that you are about to publish. So these guidelines are called the authorship guidelines. A lot of people, confuse between authorship guidelines. I hope I continue to remain audible. Just a confirmation, because we have now landed.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great. So the authorship are often confused with inventorship, because a lot of people think that if you are an author to the manuscript or research data, you are also the inventor. However, this is not true, because inventorship is not synonymous with authorship. Authorship guidelines, I just told you, comprise of a set of writing and contribution, conceptualization, contribution, the real experimentation. However, inventorship is inspired by conceptualization, asking the right question. He or she may not be involved in experimentation, may not be involved in writing the manuscript or a patent application, but yet may qualify as the sole inventor of a yoga protocol or a yoga electronic gadget or a pranayama motor painter or a nadi tadangini or whatever electronic aspects of Ayush system or electronic aspects of yoga. Therefore, this must be very clearly borne in mind that authorship is different from inventorship. Therefore, it's always advisable to have a different inventorship form, than just an authorship form. And therefore, this is the way the ethical related questions and the misconduct can be avoided. Now, I'll illustrate you as the editor. I'm also the editor of a journal that I just mentioned, an incident that just happened very recently. What happened was there was a manuscript that was published in our journal, and this was basically involved the effect of yoga on, it was some questionnaire that some investigators had used to be published after peer review. Now it so happened that some people whose performa was used was also was actually cited by these authors. So the very recent manuscript that was published in our journal with the couple of authors, they used a certain scale, a certain clinical psychology scale, and from a certain group of authors, but they actually cited and gave the acknowledgement to the original clinical psychology scale. Now, when these people became aware of this, they complained that our work was cited, but we have not made our performa public. I am just giving you this example to show the complexity of ethics that may be confronted by the editor or your dean. It could be any of your authors who may ask for a name in the list of the co-author if they don't find it. It's called authorship dispute. But here, look at what happened. Now, the authors that had actually used this particular scale, clinical scale, had actually had cited the original authors, and now these original authors are saying that they have not published this scale because they are planning to patent it. Therefore, how can you use our scale, and how can you use a summarized scale with some other group of authors had used. So as the investigation goes on, questions that are now being raised is when these complainant authors published their first use of scale, they actually also did not provide the scale, the questionnaire itself. So it raises questions of how that particular study was done when there was no scale published in that original first article that they claim to be the inventor of. Therefore, the complexity now not only lies on the fact that of you not sharing the original scale, but also sometimes it becomes the problem of the editor who's investigating the case, that whether to blame the complainant authors or the authors who actually already cited the correct article and are yet on the receiving end. Now here, the other question is that when they claim that they are going to be the copyright holders or the patent holders, for whatever reason they did not publish it, this raises two questions. Why the reviewers who reviewed the particular paper, they did not ask for it, and how did they approve it? Number two, it asks an even more deeper question of the claimant or the complainant authors, that when they claim that their scale was the original and the one that they invented, how did they get the entire thing without ethical approval? So even though complainant authors are seeking an apology, they're now actually trapped in their own net because they do not have ethical approval for that particular paper, and of which they claim that they have a new scale that they have discovered. And number two, it raises questions of reviewers who reviewed and approved that manuscript because they did not ask for that questionnaire. So ethical standards are part and parcel of authors. They are part and parcel of those who research study. They are part and parcel of journal editors who receive such manuscripts and approve them in their yoga journals. It is also a part of the reviewers who are reviewing the manuscript. They should ask for all small details, ethical approvals, the questionnaires that are used, the methodologies which are employed, if there are enough controls, if the sample size was calculated, if the research question is being addressed by the objectives that were meant to address those research questions, if the number of authors are enough or are they too many, what are their roles, what are their affiliations, whether the emails are correct. So all these are actually research questions of our uprightness, of our integrity as a science communicator, especially yogic science communicator. So therefore, as you can appreciate from this particular example and the other examples I gave, the ethical standards are part and parcel of daily life of a researcher, whether it's a yoga researcher or it's a stem cell researcher or it is a medical practitioner, medical researcher. This is the ethic that I could think or I could share with you so that you can think about it because it's a large field and more questions as they come up in your mind, you can pose them to me and I can ask them, I can answer them now. So I'll leave the floor open for interactions. You can ask questions and I can try to address them now. Thank you very much for your time.
Now the question session open to the audience. Kindly post your questions in the chat box. Dr. Anand sir, if possible, could you please switch on your video?
Sorry, what's the question?
Sir, if possible, could you please switch on your video so that it will be more interactive?
Oh, yes. So you can all ask questions, you can comment, or you can criticize. You can ask me to expand or explain in more detail about something you did not understand, or you do not believe that this aspect of ethical research is even important at all.
Sir, you was explaining about the stem cells. You have given the example of stem cells for the ethical committee. So, since the voice was breaking, we were unable to understand that properly. Can you please repeat that?
Of the yoga research would be, as I explained, the stem cells, if they are isolated from yoga practitioner's blood and transplanted into a human model, well, the research question could be as complex as asking if the stem cells from the yoga researcher exert better influence on health parameters than those which are not exposed to yoga practice. So, in that respect, when you talk of stem cells and you talk of stem cell manipulation or stem cell transplantation, we use a different species, in this case an animal model. You can even use monkeys or rabbits, but obviously, and some may even propose if whether they are allowed or not is different to humans, but that is not a possibility because usually first the research has to be proved at the animal level, preclinical level as we call it, and then it goes on to higher non-human primates and then finally humans. So in this respect, what I was trying to tell you was that this kind of research will require to be seen from the experts of stem cells. Such research proposals that have the word stem cell ingrained in the proposal or has any of the stem cell aspects discussed in the proposal. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Hello, hello, sir. Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are.
Sir, thank you so much, Mr. Akshayanand, for your lecture. So my question is, I'm a medical doctor who has learned yoga therapy. I'm a student of Dr. Elangovan. Actually speaking, once you are mentioning about randomized control trial, it is supposed to be the best for doing research in yoga and yoga therapy. See, how to do randomized control trial. So will it means without telling the patients that we are giving you yoga therapy and all, simply I'm teaching you something. If you do that, you will be all right like that. We have to say, or we have to mention that we are going to give you yoga therapy, especially it is with regard to illiterate people. So how to do research in them? Because I feel to conduct research among unlettered and illiterate people will definitely give results without any bias. So could you please throw some light on that? Thank you, sir.
So what? Yes, thank you for the question, and this helps me to explain to many others the importance of the question she has raised. So she's basically asking is asking for is how to mitigate the placebo effect, and which is when I basically endorse the importance and the use of randomized control trials. Randomized control trials are held. People who are not willing to do yoga may end up in the control group, and those who are not willing to do yoga may be in the yoga group. This ensures that the placebo effect is of those willingness to do yoga is neutralized or normalized, so that there is no biased results. But she also asks that there are even implicit in her question is the fact that in the yoga related studies there cannot be double blind. So the subject may not, it is not possible for subject to not know that he or she is actually doing yoga. Therefore, this is impossible. We cannot do such a study in which we can mitigate, we can shield or blind the subject from what he or she is doing. So we have to live with that. The solution to that problem is to have an active physical exercise group matched to the duration and the asanas and whatever constitutes that yoga protocol. The other solution to that is before and after effect. If it is done in the same season or the same short duration, I mean, if it goes from winters to summers, there may be change in climate, food habits, and many other things. So as long as this is 2 to 3 months of duration, before and after effect is quite useful. People are not talking of, and you should maybe this is one research where yoga research should delve into, is to generate this solution to this problem of subject not being blinded. For pranayama, I can think of entity called pranayam automator. So it is basically electronic device with two clips that can help you to close one nostril as you do alone below, and then close this one. As you do alone below. So do that for a person without telling that group or that person that you are doing yoga. This particular aspect is still possible. So maybe we have to work harder towards providing solutions of blinding subjects. I hope that gives you some ideas to take it.
Sir, on the ethical committee, we have to prepare our flow chart or everything we have to present, or we have to give the content of the topic what we select for our yoga research.
You have to have a whole yoga. If you listen to me, I was telling you that there has to be a research proposal which has a title, the authors who are conceptualizing it, the research question, the aim, the objective, the sample size calculation. All of that goes to a ethical committee. So it is not only viewed just as a title or just as a summary of the research design, but every other aspect is finer detail. And more importantly, the patient information sheet, it describes the research study in a patient-friendly manner, so the patient knows that he or she is a subject of research, and these are going to be the benefits and possible risks. It also has to be an informed consent form that has to be a part of the application. If I understood your question that you're asking me, it all comprises ethical committee standards or a format of, but those formats may also vary from one person to the other, one institute to the other. So you should contact your own universities. I think committee formats must be available with.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good
Sir?
afternoon.
Yes, sir. Sir, very comprehensive presentation, sir. Very useful. You were saying, but audible. It's not audible, but somehow we managed, sir. Sir, my question is, sir, as a, wherever we go, in order to correct the children or youth or whoever is doing wrong, we tend to talk or advise forcefully and raising our voice. Is that mean people are thinking that we are getting angry? Angrily we are speaking. Is there any thing is there, sir? Or what we can do, sir, from this yoga therapy? How can we, without raising our voice or forcefully talking, how can we change the tone of our thing in order to correct the people, sir? We are for the welfare of them only we are talking, but they are misunderstanding as that we are angrily speaking to them. So will you please light on this?
Well, thank you for the appreciation, and sorry about the fact that a lot of my presentation was not audible. So back to the question of how to moderate your yoga practitioner, yoga training session. That's pretty much a common sense. You should try to mix firmness with softness. Sometimes try, of course, avoid speaking angrily or perceiving to be. So don't leave any scope for others to think that you may be angry. And even though you become angry, you can always later on modify. You can try to explain that this was for your benefit, and that try to correct. And I think it's always better. The first rule is to not be angry at all, to exercise self-control. And second is to do competitions where people who are doing well, you reward them. So the message will go to that person whom you are trying to be angry with. And if you can called a standard operating procedure (SOP), which lists a sequence of asana, pranayama, and other aspects of the protocol you are teaching. Then it will be easy for the person to follow it. So I think it's something you have to deal with, and maybe you can contact your mentor to help you. People who often take classes in groups and are more mature and how they handle such situations. So this comes with experience, with management, with your own self.
Yes,
So
sir.
one question, sir.
Thank
So
you, sir.
in blinded method, how we can follow the ethical standards, sir, for the subjects? If I'm using double
Sorry,
classic or
what is the question?
if I'm using double blinded method or something, how I can follow the ethical standard to the subjects?
Well, the ethical, first of all, you cannot double blind them, as I mentioned, because the subject will eventually discover he or she is doing it or not, right? So, but the ethical standards will apply automatically from when you submit your research proposal to your ethical committee. They will ask you to do two things: take the informed consent of the person who's a part of your study will sign that form, and you will get it co-signed by a witness, and the audio and video record it as much as possible. That is one, and the other is participate and engage the person in your study, and ensuring that that you do not try to incentivize him or her that she should continue or he should not drop out of the study. Give them the freedom to exit out of the study whenever they want to. After all, it is from their good and also from your own study. When you are communicating your data, there is something called consort guidelines, CONSORT. All these guidelines ask for the dropouts, the negative informed consent. So people why they did not participate in a study. Did the control groups who were not supposed to do yoga, did they end up doing yoga? So you should call them up and follow them up. These are small steps and measures using the forms, complying to ethical committee standards, reporting adverse comments to them, ensuring the control group is compliant to control situations, and the active yoga group is actually practicing yoga for is being measured. Sweet and to the person, not inducing them for make them do yoga even though they don't want to do yoga, and also not object to their leaving your course or your not being a part of a study. More and more orientation helps. This faculty orientation program is a part of that. So I think this is all you need to do.
Thank you, sir.
So if there are no more questions, I would like to thank Dr. Ilan and the entire MEENAKSHI University for taking the initiative to provide faculty development program for their own benefit. And I hope I could contribute at least better than not being with you or absenting myself. So I tried my best to be with you despite my local disruptive ecosystem in my car.
Thank you, sir. Once again, I thanks you because of your disturbed schedule. You could make a time for our FDP program. It's really a pleasure for us. Although codes, policies, and principles are very important and useful, like any set of rules, they do not cover every situation. They often conflict and they require considerable interpretation. It is therefore important for the researcher to learn how to interpret, assess, and apply various research rules and how to make decisions and to act in a various situation. The vast majority of decisions involve the straightforward applications of ethical rules. Thank you for giving once again insight on the ethics in research. Participants, now it's time to conclude day 1 session of Faculty Development Program on integrating yoga in higher education on the occasion of the International Day of Yoga 2022, organized by Meenakshi Academy of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. This day one session wouldn't be successful without the participants and their great patience. I request all the participants to lend your patience along with us for next 4 more days and receive the remarkable knowledge from the eminent speakers on upcoming sessions. We all will meet at the same platform with the same link sharply at the 10 a.m. in the morning with new knowledge and new insight. The feedback link will be shared in the chat box. To receive the certificate, each day feedback filling is must. I request all the participants to join us in the closing session with the prayer. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Shanti, Shanti. Once again, thank you one and all.